Charlotte Motor Speedway, the home of NASCAR, peaks over the North Carolina horizon with just 4 races left in the 4-wide regular season, where tonight we welcome you to round 13 in the 4-wide racing ARCA series season as the field heads to the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, and as we bring you our live coverage right here on the KBueno Racing Network. So happy to have you as we continue our journey to the start of the 4-wide racing ARCA playoffs. We're here up in the broadcast booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. No Francisco Bucky out tonight, so it'll be a solo journey all the way from start to very finish. And this race tonight will obviously mark as a pivotal round in the championship, just because we are getting oh so close to the start of the 4-wide racing ARCA series playoffs. We've had our fair share of short track experiences, mile-and-a-half experiences, super speedway experiences, road course experience, but it all ends in a couple of weeks when we get back to Daytona at round 17. But this one here gonna be a trip to a very special track in NASCAR's history. Charlotte Motor Speedway opened all the way back in the 1960s. Opened in 1960, as a matter of fact, in the home of NASCAR, where a lot of teams and doubles. We take a look at our KBueno track map with images provided by Google Earth. It's a gorgeous 1.5 mile track that's been around, of course, since 1960, with 24 degrees over in the turns, 5 degrees over on the straights. It is a quad oval configuration, so of course you have the normal turns, you have a normal back straightaway, but the front straightaway is filled with 2 little kinks at high speed going into turn 1. So it is a very interesting fixture of a track, and of course it has been a place of many iconic races, such as the Coca-Cola 600, the All-Star race for the NASCAR Cup Series, and overall it has just been a staple in the NASCAR market, as one that is definitely a looking forward to moment for a lot of teams in real life, and potentially for the drivers here in the 4-wide camp could be a very interesting one also for them as well. And with round 13, we end up in a very interesting point in our championship, just because the playoffs are pretty much starting to unfold. We're starting to unravel which 10 drivers will end up into the 4-wide racing ARCA series playoffs. Here's a take a look at your current point standings. This is from 1st to 10th. These are all the drivers so far that are currently locked into the playoffs. Should we start the playoffs, let's say next week, these will be the 10 that you'll see. Joe Sanchez currently locked in with the most wins in this season. He has a total of 3. Ken MacArthur, Kyle Benson both share 1 apiece. They're also locked into the playoffs as well, but it's a fight for the points below them. Eric Schaefer, Curtis Kelly, they've also put themselves in the running for drivers in the playoffs. Christopher Bishop, Tony Kibbett, Lownslugger, Banks, and Newbraw, the final drivers in that mix, currently fighting for their playoff lives. 4 of them tied at 2,000, so there is still a good amount of points to share when we come here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But nonetheless, drivers are set up on the grid right as we speak. And with that, we'll take a look at your starting grid to see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be starting here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. On the front row is AJ Green for Sonic Motorsports, and the 48 machine will bring us first to the green flag, with Colin Forster, multi-time winner in the Cup Series, over on the other side. He'll be joining his teammate in row number 1 in P number 2. Behind them, you'll find 3-time winner Joe Sanchez, and the winner from last competition we had in the ARCA Series, Kyle Benson, the winner at 5 flags. They'll line up the drivers in that second row. Just behind your main leaders, Dean Brummett, Lance Hill will figure out the drivers over to P6 in row 3, with Charlie Harcum, Curtis Kelly, the double here up to P8. Row number 5 in the edge of the top 5 sees the 45 of Jacob Denson, still looking for his first 4-wide racing ARCA win, and Nicholas Fizzuti in the 75 over in P10. League owner Tyler Murray will roll off from the 11th spot on the grid here tonight. Christopher Bishop in the 42 will be alongside him over in P number 12. Dustin Webb, Kevin D'Elia will figure out the drivers over in row number 7, with Ken MacArthur and Ricky Rosner back to P16. And then those are the last drivers that did set time, but there are a lot of drivers to look forward after. Brian M. Smith, the winner over at Bristol in his very first attempt. He'll roll off 17th. You can see his black and red Bass Pro Shops machine. Jake Royal will line up on his outside. The first time we see Royal since his win at the Homestead of Miami Speedway. He's going to be looking to stay undefeated in his attempts here in the series. Jacob Smith and Brandon Banks will line up the drivers all the way through row 10. And the final drivers stand Eric Schaefer, Tristan Bailey, Michael Woolley, Joey Ray, Jesse Prees, Craig Lownslugger, Cody Kinsey, Tony Kibbett, Michael Newbraw, Brian Dixon, Pete Bruni, and Brandon Gillis. Your full 32 car field here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it is almost a full field. It's a lot of drivers here to pack into this very iconic 1.5 mile track. We'll take a look at the weather just before we get started and our look overhead here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We are reaching the sunset here, so night will fall over the Charlotte skies with an air temp of about 83 degrees and winds to the southwest 10 miles per hour. Should be something to note, especially coming out of either corner. Got humidity at 1%, fog at 0%. It is overcast here tonight from Charlotte, so track temps should not be as hot as we probably expected them to be. And of course, with the night falling in just a couple of hours in sim, we definitely should see some cold track temperatures, and that'll mean lots of grip for these guys here at this track. We've seen a lot of lines be presented with us here at this raceway with a lot of updates from the iRacing service. And with these ARCA cars, we'll just see how they all fare out. Pace car will take a trip to pit road for the first time here tonight. It'll be AJ Green, Colin Forrester, the Stock Motorsports duo to the green flag as we go 4-wide racing, ARCA Racing from Charlotte. And to a quick getaway goes AJ Green, but not before the caution is flown for the first time here tonight. And already everybody coming to a standstill and trying to see exactly who might have been involved in this incident on lap number 1. And I believe may have been someone near the rear of the field. Doesn't seem to be anybody as we see him. But as for the moment, everybody going to slow down. It was AJ Green that got off to the good start off turn 2, but then of course everybody got into a mess behind them. We'll try to take a look at the replay and see exactly what might have happened to bring us under yellow for the first time here tonight. We'll just try to take a look. There's a lot of drivers in the field, so of course going to be a little tough to get a right estimate as to who was involved in this crash. But it may have been Michael Woolley with some damage, and actually a very big crash coming into turn 1. Michael Woolley was a part of this, right on board. And right there was actually contact with the 26. That's Jacob Smith. And that was the 19 of Jake Roel that got into it together. So these two getting caught up in a mess early. They were technically still scored where they were on the starting grid coming to turn 1, but it was this mess right here that pretty much brought us under caution. You take a look at it, I think they all just stacked up. And then the 19 of Royal just gets directly into Smith, who then tags into Schaefer, and then gets into the 69 of Michael Woolley. And then all of them involved in the incident. Smith arguably with the most damage out of all the cars involved. So for these guys, they're going to have to go for some damage control early on as you watch all of them down pit road. Brandon Banks also to take a trip as well. He's not one that was involved directly, but he's also going to get some repairs as we speak. There's Jake Rell down pit road. And for Jacob Smith, he's going to burn the fast repair earlier on, I believe. You see a pretty clean nose on the front of that Dodge Viper. So as we speak, first caution already bringing us to a standstill. AJ Green still leads. Everybody going to comfortably sit behind the iRacing official pace car for the first time here tonight. And just going to be waiting for the signal to get back to green flag racing. Of course, when you have such a large field at a stack of 32 cars, you are going to expect these drivers to get real close. And of course, when they get real close on the restarts, and of course in pack racing styles, you're going to see some contact made, some drivers miscommunicating, some stack-ups happening, and of course, cautions could fly as a result. So we're doubling them up. We should get the 1 to green signal this time by, so the pace car will go lights out. And we'll have ourselves another attempt to go 1 full lap green. And with AJ Green up at the front, Colin Forrester to his outside. There are still no changes mostly between first all the way back to the rest of the field. Only some changes from the drivers who did hit pit road. But as for the front runners, it is still rather unchanged. Pace car lights are off, so we should go green next time by. And already after our first caution out of the 134 that are scheduled here tonight, it's a pretty long one here from Charlotte, 134, usually the distance of the NASCAR iRacing Series on the iRacing platform with the Cup Series machine. So if you end up in, let's say, a playoff Charlotte race, you would end up with 134 laps, but obviously with the way that Charlotte's been presented to as a Coke 600 affair with 400 miles or 600 miles, 400 laps, and of course you'd have a big difference there in the NAS series. Nonetheless, still a very long race. These drivers going to have to deal with a lot of endurance on their hands. And endurance is going to have to also factor in with the yellows that come out, being patient under them, and of course trying to give yourself a rhythm all the way to the end of this race. Remember, the top two have not found themselves to victory lane in the ARCA series quite yet, although AJ Green and Colin Forster have gone quite close to that sacred victory lane. They have yet to find it over in the ARCA series. Again, Forster has won a couple of times in the Cup series. AJ Green, part of that stoic stock motorsports camp, looking to bring some wins into this series as well. The pace car will dive off. We'll take another attempt at a green flag lap here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's Green and Forster, back to green from Charlotte. Already a good start of the driver, that 48. Seems as though he's left everybody in the dust. Joe Sanchez to the inside already. And the three-time winner making moves to second. Dean Brummett also trying to look to the inside of the outside lane and Colin Forster. There's Kyle Benson, Lance Hill just behind in your top five. But it is side by side between, so far, third and fourth. You're right on board with Sanchez as he gets a run from the outside. Forster going to make that second lane work for just a smidge of a moment. And he's going to try and battle the Housing Belt Chevrolet machine to the inside of turn 1 and 2. A big jump in the middle for Forster. But now he's going to be able to hold on. Nice outside pass for the second spot. Dean Brummett, though, still fighting on the inside lane. That's Kyle Benson, that McCafe Toyota Camry. He's going to also fight for position, get a lot of a run out of 3 and 4. And to carry as much momentum as he could to maybe try and clear that 57 by the time they get back to turn 1. And this Charlotte track, very interesting in a case comparative to a lot of other 1.5 milers we see. We, of course, saw Homestead Miami Speedway. That's a very different one in its own right. The two straightaways and the turns in between. You got Texas Motor Speedway. They reconfigured that track back in 2017, which gave it different banking in either corner and gave it overall a much funneled feel, although usually see a lot of wide spacing over at Texas just based on the inside line all the way to the outside wall. Chicagoland, very different. Las Vegas, very different. But when you get to Charlotte, there's a big difference in between turn 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. As you ride on board with Benson, take a look at how he's driving his Toyota Camry up to the front. As Benson continues to try and work for P4. Caution flag, though, waves as soon as the leaders are going to get to turn 3. And it's a big pot up there. That's the 97 of Ken MacArthur involved in the inside of that Exxon machine. You see him just at the foreground there. The 97 car involved with some damage as everybody pretty much tried to slow up. And for the Daytona winner earlier in this campaign, second half of the season has not really shown him the bright side of the grass. As we'll take a look at the replay to see exactly what might have happened here to the 97 machine. Actually, multiple cars involved. The 13 also got tagged in this as well. Take a look as they were coming into the first corner. And I believe it started way ahead of them as Launslager got away. Actually, no, it was behind them. 97 got into the outside wall. I believe tried to avoid the car on the inside. That's Brian M. Smith. Of course, makes contact with him, heads into the outside wall, then collects himself with Bishop. That's Jesse Priest. And then watch the hit here as he comes back up on the track, goes right into the air with a safer barrier. And the 13 careens back down, collects the 43 of Ricky Rosner. And from there, the story is told. Launslager, a driver that we mentioned at the top of the show, is a driver in the top 10 for the playoffs. And for now, he's going to have to deal with significant damage on his 13. And probably won't be surprised to see if a fast repair is burned off of that Ford Taurus. As we'll take a look here. This is from Launslager's view into turn 1 and 2. Take a look exactly. See, exactly where the contact is made just to head the road. There it is. 97 goes into the wall. And from there, it's really hard to react. 13 does a nice job to go up the track, but by the time he gets to 97, it's a hard lick. And the 13, absolutely nowhere he can see the wreck happening. And then gets into the 43 indirectly, and of course gets him involved in the incident as well. So it's a multi-car pileup here involving that 13 as he tried to get around at pit road. He's inevitably able to do so with the hood intact, and he's already got the fast pair whipped up. He's in P13 as most of the field is going to hit pit road this time by. There's Jake Rell also coming down pit road. Nicholas Fazzuti on the way as well. Many of the drivers with damage also trying to control it. Jesse Priest, one of them. Eric Schaefer also in the mix as well, as he comes out with his 22 Mellow Yellow machine, and pretty much the rest of the field also tries to get themselves sorted with damage control, maybe pitch strategy potentially within the first 11 laps, but nonetheless, it has been quite the spectacle here from Charlotte so far, with the first two incidents taking place in the first 11 laps so far in tonight's coverage. AJ Green, though, has done a nice job so far of putting himself up front, and it's pretty much been the top four altogether. Lance Hill has kept himself clean within the top five. Also to speak, the winner over at Pocono earlier this campaign, looking for a second in this series and a brand new look here. We saw this a couple weeks ago in the 34 machine with the Menards colors on a Chevrolet body instead of the Haas colors on a Ford body that we saw in that race-winning car from the Pocono Mountains. But nonetheless, Hill is going to start in the inside of row number 3. Well, the Stock Motorsports teammates up at the front, in accordance with Hill, are going to be sitting on the inside lane, the outside lane of row number 1. There's Curtis Kelly, the Myrtle Beach winner earlier this campaign as well. We got multiple previous winners here. And pretty much when you get to the rows 2 and 3, you have race winners already in this series. 55 three-time winner Kyle Benson taking the win last week at the last short track affair over at Five Flags. And then, of course, everybody else in that group also with checkered flags as well. We'll see if we can get a long green flag run in tow, though, with the 48 of AJ Green. Him and Colin Forster are going to line up row number 1. It's Sanchez and Benson. We saw Benson make a nice outside pass for position. We'll see if he can do so again here in this 24-degree banking as the field will come out of turn 3 and 4. And it will be AJ Green back in control of this race. Pace car will make its way back down to pit road, and we'll get the green flag in just a handful of moments. Barney's got the flag man in hand, and as the 48 and the 99 come across the restart zone, we are back under green from Charlotte. Nice jump again for the 48 of AJ Green, and in accordance, his teammate also gonna figure in from P2 as Kyle Benson makes a nice jump on the outside lane. He's gonna try to make a move for second. And a big pileup behind them, 45, Jacob Denson to the outside wall, and again, actually no, we're gonna stay green. Everybody ends up clean. Denson was in the wall for a moment and almost gets into there with the 26 of Jacob Smith, but he's able to find himself through as now the yellow comes out finally. It was Kevin D'Elia up in the outside wall, very slow on his end, but not sure whether he was the direct cause. Dean Brummett also with significant damage on his end. And the driver we saw up at the first 2 rows of the field to start this race already with some significant troubles. We'll try and see exactly what happened at the exit of turn 2. That's pretty much all where it started. And it was actually a secondary incident that took us under yellow. The first one involving Kevin D'Elia, Jacob Denson. With them involved, take a look at exactly how this happened. You see D'Elia get into Denson. They both get contact, and by then we probably expected the yellow come out, but both of them were able to save it. D'Elia, though, had troubles to the outside wall. But it's going to be Dean Brummett here with the issues. He's going to go around. Eric Schaefer's also going to get collected in this. You see Brummett right there as a 22 just tries to avoid, get around the car at about full throttle. And then gets directly into the 57. And around he goes. Really nothing for the driver, the 57, to really react here as you run on board. Crash happens in front. He's able to slow it down. Actually with a tag to the outside of the wall. But watch this. 22 is going to come right up in his nose. And bam, to the outside wall. Both of them go. Schaefer, I believe, out of this race. He has officially pulled it behind the garage. But as for the driver of the 57, he's going to stay on the racetrack as he goes for pit road once again, and we'll see if he burns off a fast pair here in that number 5 machine as we again go under yellow. Our third one already in the first 15 laps. Probably didn't expect this to happen considering we just jumped off of a short track race over at 5 Flags, and that had a lot of yellows in its own right. Had about 27 in total. And for now, field is going to scramble still behind the iRacing official pace car, and many drivers still electing to stay out. Obviously, in turn, this is only the first 15 laps of this race, and obviously, when yellows come out so early, you're looking at potential strategies down the line, but I figure a lot of these guys up front probably aren't looking to really risk too much here via track position. They've seen what's happened near the rear of the field, especially with the large field that we got to start this race in 32 cars, so they probably don't figure that it's going to be wise here to lose all that track position, have to go through the field, but maybe have the expense of fresh tires on end. And as for now, it seems as though the status quo is sticking with a lot of guys in this field, and it's going to continue to stick so far, especially if we got cautions very early on in tonight's race, much like we've had tonight. And most of what you're going to see featured on pit road is going to be drivers getting damage control, or maybe some drivers on the outside trying to make a strategy stick. Although that's kind of rare here at Charlotte in the first 16 laps. You wouldn't expect to pit with a 75% fuel gauge on these race cars. We'll double them up one more time. We'll see if we can again go green flag racing here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway with the 48 of AJ Green still in control. It's been a solid start for the driver of the Lowe's machine. And then Colin Forrester, of course, to his outside. Going to try to assist him on his way up in the front to defend against Kyle Benson. Joe Sanchez. We saw Kyle Benson have a really good restart that last time by. I was almost able to get to the outside of Forrester, but we'll see if he's really able to make the inside line work in this case. Benson, the driver for Big Fast Racing, also teammates with league owner Tyler Murray. You see Tyler Murray just 2 rows behind him on the inside lane. They may end up working together if they get close enough. But as of now, field will again be at the hands of the iRacing official pace car. It'll be a restart at lap 17 of 134. 48 of AJ Green looking again for the green lights on the iRacing sim to say, hey, let's go racing back again. As the 48 gets to the green flag, we're back underway for the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Better jump here by Benson to the inside. He'll go to the Stonk Motorsports driver, and he will take P2. So Kyle Benson already on a mission to start this race. And the driver of that 10 machine already up to second. Joe Sanchez falls all the way back to 5th. And that pass by the 34 of Lance Hill. He's going to try to work with his teammates. Now Sanchez goes to the inside. And a pass for what is so far P4. And the field will so far get through 3 and 4 successfully. And we may have ourselves a clean lap here from Charlotte as AJ Green continues to lead. You right on board with the 42 of Christopher Bishop. Just in a battle ahead. And Shelby Ray, it's Dustin Webb, Craig Lounslager. We saw Lounslager up into the wall against the 97 of Ken MacArthur. He's got the fast pair, so he's still in contention for this race. And as passes are made, drivers getting their rhythms in. But so far, it's AJ Green being hunted by the 10 of Kyle Benson. You could already see, especially out of AJ Green's rear window, the difference in lines to start this race here from Charlotte. See Kyle Benson going way higher than you probably expect him to be. AJ Green trying to stick all the way down to the blue and white paint on the bottom of the racetrack, and Benson looking to get a run out of the second corner. But so far, he's able to keep himself tucked in within at least 0.3 of a second. Here's the battle for third right now. It's the 34 of Hill. That's the 99 of Forster. The two teammates side by side. And for Hill, he's going to be able to clear. He'll tuck in line. The 99 and the 55 will also stick. There's Jake Rowe in the 19 machine. First time we see him again, like we mentioned, since the checkered flag dropped at the virtual homestead of Miami Speedway. The winner after all 3 green-white checkered attempts were exhausted. He's going to slow down, though, as the yellow flag will again fly. And I believe we may have had a victim in this one. The 03 of Brian Dixon all the way stuck on the inside lane. And a damaged Charlie Harcum in the 46. Back in P30. He's got a torn up race car, and I believe he is indeed the cause of the yellow. We'll take a look and see exactly how all of this started. Off turn 4, that's Jacob Smith right behind him. Smith goes for the inside move, and bam, right into the back bumper he goes. These cars do not necessarily have the best rear bumper alignment, with the front bumpers a hard hit there from the inside of the racetrack. We'll try to identify exactly who that might have been, but there's the cause of the incident. 46, bam, into the outside wall. And that's actually the 45 of Jacob Denson. We saw him into the outside wall not too long ago. And a crash that technically wasn't a yellow on track. But again, take a look at that 46 as he comes out of turn 4. Smith is not the best run here out of the 4th corner, but he's going to be able to filter something out coming into turn 1. It's just the bumpers do not align well. He gets directly into the 45 and turns him, and then the 46 really has nowhere to go. You'll see Denson come into the picture. That's the slam right there from Jacob Denson in the 45. And I believe Denson also has significant damage as well to the front end of his machine. And it's been a rough night for many here in this race already. And Denson with a severely damaged car is going to come down pit road. Many of the drivers also in front are going to hit. Meanwhile, a lot of leaders are going to hit pit road as well. Jake Wells is going to be one of the drivers to stay out. But it's many behind them beneath the top 7, AJ Green included, that are going to hit pit road this time by. There's Green out of pit road. Benson going to come out second. It's a battle for third. Colin Forster is going to get the betterment of his teammate in the 34. But it's an interesting split here, and I talked about just how drivers may not be willing to take strategy calls early on in tonight's race with a lot of yellows. Well, you figure this top 7 is definitely still staying on that path. AJ Green and these guys decided it was already enough time for them to come down pit road. And for now, they'll be most likely on the freshest tires of the field, and of course the most fuel filled in on those ARCA Menards Chevrolet Impalas. And we'll see exactly how they fare. Usually at these tracks, the old tires don't necessarily do too much comparative to the new tire group. We usually see the new tire group pretty much pass by infinitely without any sort of issues, unless it's just slowing down or maybe just a lack of room on the racetrack to really get around with the pace difference. And these guys are going to have to play a little bit of defense here on the next restart. We should get the 1 green signal this time by Jacob Smith. Although he was a part of that incident technically with the 46 of Harcum, he is still going to be P2 scored on the racetrack. And of course, with his position on track just behind Jake Well and these guys, it is better for them at this point to stay out. They are going to gain some track position. Actually, no, the 26 going to get the end of line penalty by the officials due to causing that incident on the 46. So scratch that. Jacob Smith going to be near the rear at the tail end of the longest line. And that'll reduce the total to 6 cars total on the racetrack that are still on old rubber. Again, talking about these guys that did stay out, of course, this very interesting group, as I should say, with the 19 of Jake Roel. We talked about him, of course, the winner at Homestead of Miami Speedway. It was the first time we saw Roel back in 4-wide competition in a very long time. The last time we saw him was in Cup competition, but ever since, we had really yet to see him since. And to see him grab that win over a Homestead of Miami Speedway definitely brought us the vision of Jake Roel as well that we saw in the Cup Series. And of course, with him back in the ARCA Series with that Homestead finish, they're going to be looking for 2 in a row with his attempts here in the series. Brian M. Smith, he's been around for a little bit longer. He's shown up frequently here in this series since his debut over at Bristol, which he did win in a Red Bull machine. He's back in second, so we should expect Brian M. Smith to maybe clamber up through the field. And maybe also give himself a shot at the playoffs. Still not top 20 in points, Smith is, so Smith is definitely looking for a playoff berth here in this series, not only to couple with his win in this campaign, but also to couple with his playoff run currently in the Cup Series that he's got with 3 wins on his table in that front as well. We'll double them up. Pace car again in control of the field, but it's going to be a new leader by the time we get to the start-finish line. Jake Roel, Brian M. Smith, your first 2 that'll get to the green flag as of lap 25 of 134. Telemetry tells us if we go green, we'll stay about an hour of racing, just under an hour of racing, about 58 minutes total before we can get to the end of this thing. And when we saw 134 laps over the Homestead of Miami Speedway, we saw that extended by more than 10 with all green-white checkered attempts used. And of course, a winner decided up at the front when the field rose frozen. It was that 19 of Jake Ruel, and this time he's going to be leading us back to the green flag. So it's Ruel, Smith, your front row. Nicholas Vizzuti and Craig Lautenschlager behind them. Joey Ray making his first appearance into the top 5 all night long. He's going to be the inside of row 3 with Christopher Bishop along to his outside. And then you'll find the entire fresh tire brigade with AJ Green, Colin Forster, Kyle Benson, Lance Hill, all of those drivers looking to cram these positions really early in this race. We could see a split in strategy end up with maybe an efficient line coming out of one of those groups. Pace car comes down. Green flag is back out of lap number 25. And it is Jake Ruel with the front of the field as they come back to turn 1. Solid jump out of the 19 to Jake Ruel. It's a bit of a scrabble though behind. Here's Kyle Benson to the inside, or at least an attempted pass to the inside. He got passed as AJ Green actually got passed by the 10 machine of Benson. And now Benson is going to try and catch up to Craig Lautenschlager. Maybe put him under some fire as well. Maybe creep himself into the top 5. Not as big of a difference on tires this time by as the field comes to turn 1. And these guys looking to definitely carve their way to the field as quickly as possible. The thing with Charlotte, though, you can run out a lot of space very quickly here at this track. And you do not want to make a wrong move, especially when it comes out of 4 and you have an opportunity to accidentally put yourself into the outside wall. You watch the battle so far for that position. It's going to get real close. Joey Ray is going to get into this fight as well. Look at Nicholas Vizzuti, and they're 2 by 2. Couple of rows deep. There's Colin Forster in it as well, and it is getting awfully harder for these drivers to really get themselves at the front of the field. Right on board with Kyle Benson as they come out of turn 2. AJ Green back to the inside. You see Joey Ray, of course, still holding up the inside group. And again, old tires not necessarily faring well as Brian M. Smith tries to lead this brigade. Jake Ruel is pretty much pulled away by about 7/10 of a second. I believe the largest gap that we've seen so far here tonight. But as of these guys up at the front, they are definitely getting racy. 2 by 2 still, about 3 rows deep. And over this race is probably going to be a game of patience here if you're guys like AJ Green, if you're these guys on the fresh rubber, because you definitely don't want to make a wrong move. You don't want to get into a predicament where you may end up 3, maybe 4 wide, and you have to really get out of the gas and really kind of back yourself out, as I should say, if you're really trying to make these moves. I think AJ Green is really trying to put this into perspective as Kyle Benson has really gotten shuffled back to the field. He almost got 3 wide in between Lautenschlager and Colin Forster, but now under fire from Lance Hill for position as Green gonna go to the inside of the 75. Vizzuti is gonna try to peek under Joey Ray for a position out of turn 4. Now for now, Forster, Green, and all these guys on fresh tires still stuck in the group. Kyle Benson, watch him go 3 wide, and that's gonna get real tight into turn 1. He's going to get around the 34 of Hill, maybe get around Forster, but it's Lautenschlager still holding himself strong up top. They're going to wash up out of turn 2. And for right now, it is getting real quick to react from behind the wheel. Benson still stuck in the middle 3 as Lautenschlager does not relinquish that outside lane, and neither does Lance Hill over on the bottom of the racetrack. Oh, and a bit of contact there between the 10 and the 13. Lautenschlager is going to back out. And for now, Benson is going to hold position as they make contact further up the field. They're going to really wash up out of turn 2. That's Joey Ray, Nicholas Suzuki, Colin Forster, the fresh tire car, trying to get around them. I think it's real dangerous when you're trying to put these guys maybe almost 2-3 wide in the first 31 laps of this race. And Joey Ray now caught up 3 wide. Kyle Benson definitely not afraid to make the moves. Is going to hit the 5, and the 5's going to go directly into the outside wall. Not as much contact to really affect him aerodynamically, but Benson really trying to bully his way through the field. He's up to P5 as of right now. It's a big mess behind him. But so far up at the front of the field, it's Jake Ruel continuing to control this race as of the 32nd lap out of the 134. He's already bridged his gap by about 9/10 of a second but it is closing. AJ Green now on the way. He's going to try and put this pace here. It's not exactly a huge difference in tires. Actually, it is a significant amount. It's about 11 laps on tires, so it is lap 22 that so far Jake Rowe is working on. So far, Brian M. Smith and the other guys there in the middle of that pack are also on that same lap, but it's only about lap 11 to 12 that you see these guys on right now, and it doesn't seem to be working so much for AJ Green, because now here comes Brian Smith to the outside. He'll go on the oldest tires out of these guys in this group so far, and Smith really trying to push that 48, but so far AJ Green not able to really let him go, and in this case they're allowing Jake Rowe to even continue to bridge that gap as Colin Forster maybe looked 3 wide for a moment. He's gonna peek underneath, no move out of that colorful 99 machine just yet, but they continue to lose time to the race leader. Last time it was a 32 flat. It was a 31.8 for Jake Rowe, the current race controller. And for Green, these guys behind, they do not want to see the drivers side by side really fighting for position, because they continue to hold out hope that maybe, just maybe, Jake Rowe will be slowing up somewhere and they can have a chance at the race lead. We'll focus on that battle in just a moment. Here's Lance Hill underneath the 13 of Craig Lounsager. That's for position into P6. And a quick move made by that 34 machine as Joe Sanchez is also going to try the double and also peek to the inside of the 13 Ford Taurus. And the field screams through turn 3 and 4 to the front straightaway and back to turn 1 and 2. And a lot of this here at Charlotte Motor Speedway is probably going to entail a lot of tire saving. You're going to see a lot of guys trying to push themselves, maybe some drivers trying to keep it very, very clean. And I remember when Official went on here just a couple of weeks ago, or actually just a couple of months ago, that a lot of drivers are focusing on that tire conservation, because when the track does get slick, when the tires do wear out, the car really gets hard to drive. And these cars, with the limited downforce that they do have as you ride on board with Colin Forster, it can really be a handful. We saw some of that over the track at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as the caution comes out once again, and it's the field scramble behind. That's the 46 of Charlie Harcum. Not sure whether he was collected in this, as his bumper is seemingly hanging off of the front end of his Chevrolet Impala. There's Jacob Denson on the inside. A rough race for him so far, as he's all the way to the inside grass. And after starting in P9, what looked to be promising for the Miller High Life car has seemingly turned worse as of lap 37. He currently sits P30 on the track. We'll see if he was directly involved in this caution here tonight. I believe he exactly was. Jesse Prees was also a part of this as well, but it was a mess up in front that actually got them in. Nicholas Vizzuti seemed to have been kind of the causer here. As a big slam behind them. That was the 26 of Jacob Smith that got directly into the back of Jacob Denson. We'll take a look at exactly how this started, though. That's Christopher Bishop, middle 3 wide with Dean Brummett. Tags outside, that's the 75 of Vizzuti, but it's all the mess that happens behind him. Watch that hit right there. Jesse Prees coming back across the track. Not sure how Prees got up in his shape. But you'll see the mix here. Bishop washes up the track. They push 3 wide. Brummett tries to make the move. Bishop overcorrects into the 75. And for Prees, he actually got caught. I believe it might have been by Bishop down the track that he got hit. You see here, they get into trouble right in front of him. And actually, yes, gets into Kevin D'Elia, who then in turn hits the 00, slams into the 75, and then it's a big mess just behind them with Jacob Denson, as Denson just gets absolutely destroyed by the driver of that 26. Right on board here, seemed to be a clean car up until this point, but it does not get pretty. That was a slam out of Jacob Smith. We saw him get the end of line penalty not too long ago for causing one of the previous incidents. And for that, he's going to be on pit road with significant damage along with a good chunk of the field. You see Charlie Harcum getting his damage fixed. Christopher Bishop also down there as well. Kevin D'Elia, Dustin Webb, one of the leaders, head out of pit road. It's Jake Rowe up at the front. But again, no change within the top 5. Brian M. Smith is going to fall back to 4th, but it is still mostly unchanged by the time we get back to the start-finish line. We'll have everybody sorted here from timing and scoring. But it's Jake Rowe having the lead completely dissipated but still in the lead nonetheless. We'll take a short break, but you won't miss a thing here at the KBueno Racing Network. You're watching round 13 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's Jake Rowe, AJ Green, Kyle Benson, your current top 3.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway for round 13 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series season. Just a reminder that if you want to join the conversation with us up in the KBueno booth, you can do so by using hashtag AskKBueno, and you can put your question followed by the hashtag. We'll be sure to answer it just as soon as you send it, and to the best of our abilities. That's hashtag AskKBueno for anything you want to know. Currently riding with the second place driver so far, it is Jake Rowe, though, on the outside lane of row 1. First time we see the leader do that all night long. He will lead us back to green on that 42 of 134. It has so far been sort of a caution fest to start off. I believe we've already had 4 cautions within our first 41 laps, so we've had a good stretch of green flag laps mixed in with some of the yellows, and there's been some big incidents, a lot of drivers with damage, and it has merely cut our entire 32 car field when we started almost in half. As the pace car comes down, it's going to be an early jump and a solid jump out of the Good Wrench machine. He'll take the green flag. Brian M. Smith with a pass on the outside, a good restart for him as well. And so far, fresh tires have not proved themselves to be worthy. It was about a 10-lap difference between these drivers right now in the top 2 and the drivers behind them, and AJ Green, Kyle Benson, who did hit pit road with one of our last yellows, but they since have not been able to pick up as much speed as maybe they anticipated in the opening laps of this race. I mentioned also earlier how the track temp, very cool to what we probably expected here from Charlotte. It is 83 degrees over on the track temp, but it is dropping, and we do have an overcast night over in Sims, so that also doesn't help with slickening these race cars up, and that means that tire wear probably won't be the biggest concern here at this track. You currently watch your entire top, at least 7 right now, single file. There's a side-by-side battle between the 99, I believe the car all the way up to his outside, and Dean Brummett. But that battle has quickly siphoned out as Brummett's able to get the advantage. Colin Forster still trying to work through his way through the field after starting up in P2 along with his Stock Motorsports teammate. Here's a nice view of that car right in front of him, the 71 of Curtis Kelly, the winner a couple of weeks ago over at Myrtle Beach. And Curtis definitely was not expecting that carnage out of the 4th corner at Myrtle Beach when he took that victory at the end of a green-white checkered attempt. But ever since, it has been very consistent for that Shrek Impala SS. He's had some ups, he's had some downs, but he's definitely put all of this into perspective as a potential playoff driver here with a good amount of points to his name with that victory. And as he battles Dean Brummett for PA, he is again looking forward to another potential top 10 evening. There's a battle, though, currently for second. That's AJ Green to the outside of Smith. The middle lane here in 1 and 2 gonna work to the back straightaway. We'll see if Benson has enough to try and attack. Indeed he does. He'll go to the inside in 3 and 4. Gonna be able to make it stick so far. Still down low. That McCafe machine is. Smith battling hard to pinch on the inside. Benson gonna wash up just a little bit. Push Smith out of contention here up to the 24-degree banking. And for now, Smith is gonna have to end up in P4. Craig Lonsberger also in a battle of his own. That's Lance Hill behind him. And as of right now, it looks like Lance Hill may have the advantage as he tries to peek to the inside. The Mellow Yellow machine. He may have a chance over in turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, battle for the lead, maybe in tow, maybe some tire saving out of the 48 machine. And the pole sitter now hounding to the rear end of Jake Rell. We saw it be the complete opposite in the last run. We saw the tires not necessarily working in these guys' favor. The 48 was side by side with Smith for a while, which opened up the gap for Jake Rell. Was a solid 1.5 seconds before the yellow came out at lap 41. But for now, AJ Green has finally found the clean air. He's finally found the space to make a move possible, to put himself in a rhythm. And now he's caught up to the back of that 19 machine. We talked about the fact that AJ Green does not have a win yet in this series. He doesn't have a win in the Cup Series either. He's been close many times. His stock motorsports teammate Forrester has seen victory lane a couple times, but Green has not been so fortunate. And he's had some good qualifying efforts, some good racing efforts here, and some good race pace here in this series. But problem has just been trying to put races together. It's been hard to really not end up in an incident. It's been hard to not get luck, strike at the worst possible time. And for Green, he's been consistent, but has just not found the last piece of the puzzle to really put a victory together. But right now, this may be the chance to do it as we're getting closer to the halfway mark of tonight's race. Green now just absolutely right on the rear bumper of that 19 machine as he tries to get in, but he's going to slow down. Maybe attempt next time by as the caution will fly. Yet again, it is Brian Dixon at the exit of turn 2 in trouble. The black, gray, and red machine of Dixon. Not too much damage on his Chevrolet, but he's going to be able to pick it back up, get back up to speed. I believe Charlie Harcum, the slow car down there, may have also been involved. We'll take another look here with our replay and see exactly whether this was the cause here, the 03, whether he was directly involved, whether there was something else that may have happened with the driver of that machine. We'll see if we can take a look here. Just in the recent lap, as I'll try here to take a look with that driver, that 03 in Brian Dixon. Although he's going to catch up for right now with the drivers in that mix. We'll see if we can get the 03 here dialed up and see if we can get a look out of him by the time he got into that incident. Brian Dixon did into turn 2. We'll see exactly what happened, and I believe may have been attacked here by the 03. Actually, yes, indeed, there was him, the 45, Jacob Denson. Charlie Harcum also involved. Jacob Smith, he's been in a lot of messes here tonight, but this was not directly his fault. He's just right in front of the mess as the 03 gets into the 45. Harcum and the 42 also get into it. It's been a rough night, though, so far for these guys. And for Dixon, he's been rather close to some incidents, and tonight he ends up being one of them, unfortunately, as he currently sits P28 right now on the racetrack. He's going to be on pit road currently with a bunch of other drivers. Michael Newbraw is also one to pit. Tony Kivitt, Cody Kinsey also down pit road. Brandon Banks, there's Jesse Priest, maybe waiting on Banks to come out of pit road. Jacob Smith is also going to take a tail also for pit service. Meanwhile, the leaders will do the same. And many will stay out. Tyler Murray and Dustin Webb are going to be the two that stay out. But it's going to be Jake Ruel leading them out of pit road. What a move by Craig Lonsberger to end up second out of the pits. We didn't exactly see the pit stops, but here they were. I believe Lonsberger may have missed it, though. As he ends up in P2, we'll see if he ends up second guessing and going down for service here. But as of now, Craig Launsager with some solid track position here as of lap 51. And with that move, not sure if he exactly missed his star or whether he even made a trip down for tires and fuel, much like the rest of the field did. He was kind of mired back in track position, but nonetheless, he is going to stay out another time. So this decision so far is confirmed. And for the driver, the 13, he is going to be in P2. So top two in Murray and Webb, they're going to hit pit road. And so that's going to put Jake Ruel back into the race lead for, again, the second time here tonight. After taking the lead when the leaders hit pit road, AJ Green is going to have to try and get by the 13. He's going to be the inside of row 2 when we go back to green flag action. Kyle Benson will be alongside him on the outside lane. Brian Smith, Lance Hill, Joe Sanchez, Dean Brummett, Colin Forrester behind them, and of course the other long line of cars, many of which getting repairs still. Christopher Bishop, of course the 03 of Brian Dixon, Jacob Denton, the 46 of Charlie Harcum. So they're all going to try and get back up to pace while they all tail this 19 machine in Jake Ruel. And Jake Ruel, when you talk about him as a driver, especially with the characteristics that he shares, a lot of his racing is very strong in the 1.5 mile tracks, the intermediate tracks where you've got high speeds, you've got many different lanes to play with. We've seen that 19 be very experimental with the race cars, especially the Cup Series cars. When we visited tracks like Las Vegas, when we went to Homestead Miami Speedway, he was one that also played with lines. With this driver right here, Jake Ruel, we've seen many different high line opportunity passes, many inside aggressive passes. We've seen a lot on intermediate styles out of Jake Ruel, and you could probably argue that for Jake Ruel, the intermediate style is his best style. He's been up at the front. He's been competing against the best. He hasn't necessarily picked up as many wins as maybe he'd hoped to get at those tracks, but nonetheless, the pace was always there out of that 19 where we saw him over in the Cup Series at the intermediate venues, and so far here tonight, he has definitely put a lot of pace on some of the oldest tires of the field at one point. This time, he's going to be equalized with everybody, but we'll see how he performs here on an equalized state with everybody behind him on the same footing. So if he's able to pull away with a disadvantaged car on tires, we'll see what he can do with some of the fresh rubber along with everybody else and being on the same page. He's going to choose the inside line this time on the restart. Craig Launsager is going to have to suffer for the outside in run number 1. We've seen many good starts out of that outside lane. Although when the leaders there, certainly makes things a lot better to gauge when he's going. And of course, with him being the control car, it makes it a lot easier to gain ground on the competitors, either below you or behind you in this case. And for the 13, he's going to try and judge out of the left side of his window net. And Jake Ruel's maybe going to have some help here by the 48 of AJ Green. Brian M. Smith will just have to see. Out of turn 4, pace car will make its way back down to pit road. It'll be the 19 of Jake Ruel, the 13 of Craig Launsager, your first two to bring us back to green flag action. Pace car's up. It's another early start out of the race leader. AJ Green going to have a really good one on the inside. Smith will do so as well. Launsager on the back foot to turn 1. They're going to continue battle out of turn 2. Brian M. Smith, this time with a better restart to the inside. He'll go of that 48 Lowe's machine. And for now, he is not going to have the clear advantage. As the caution comes out, Smith going to have the position, I believe. But it's a mess behind them. And Cody Kinsey might have been involved. Oh, it's a big slam for the 43 up ahead. Ricky Rosner, his Western Auto machine, the Darrell Waltrip throwback. His car completely torn up out of turn 4. And we'll see exactly what happened to him as there was a big mess. Chovy Ray was also involved in this as well. So, again, much like we've seen with many crashes earlier tonight, the damage usually isn't caused by drivers starting the incident. It's by drivers collecting into it. And this time it was Chovy Ray that went around just in front of Rosner. And as he was coming back down the track, it's a huge slam for that 43 car. Ken MacArthur also in it as well. He got a bit of piece of it. We'll see how this started from the perspective of that 5 Fast and All machine. Forster there, loose out of turn 2. Don't think he was a part of this incident directly. So he was down there. I think it may have been contact right about there. Woodley gets into that 5 machine. They both go hard in the outside wall, but it's a travel back down the 24 degrees of banking that really gets Ricky Rosner and Christopher Bishop in this also. And Joey Ray, we saw this accident happen once with the likes of Jacob Smith getting into the back end of Charlie Harcum. And this time as you ride on board with the 5 of Joey Ray, it's going to be the contact by this black and yellow machine of Michael Woodley in turn 3. Just right there, nothing you can do in the bumper hooks on these ARCA cars. And as he tries to come back to the track, he just absolutely gets slammed. And it comes to a dead rest just at the crest of the banking. And then obviously tries to get it back underway. Don't think there's too much damage out of that 5 car. He's going to hit pit road though. But nonetheless, Joey Ray, much like many others tonight, is not having a good one here from Charlotte in the first half of this event so far. And many still with damage. Bishop with extra damage. Ken MacArthur also with heavy damage. And for many there, just really trying to put themselves back on the right stage here from Charlotte. Many of these drivers have taken fast pairs. That is one thing that is given in the 4-wide racing series, whether it's the ARCA series or the Cup series collectively, is that you do get faster pairs. Here in this series, you do get a total of 1. So let's say if you do accidentally total your car or you get involved in an incident, you do have a chance if you bring it back down pit road, as Brian Smith gets real close to the race leader out of the chicane. If you do end up totaling the race car, you do have the chance to completely fix it, get a brand new race car, just like if it rolled off of the trailer. But that is if you can bring it down pit road. We see many times where if you tow it, you're going to spend the time towing it. And then, of course, the fast pair won't necessarily be immediately displayed. It'll start with your required repairs, and then you'll have to get the fast pair. It is only if you tow it down, actually, if you bring it down pit road by your own power, that is where the fast pair can roll in. You'll take about 2.5 seconds to display it. Then all of a sudden, you've got a clean race car, and you can continue on your way. Pretty much about, I'd say, half of the field, at least more than 1/3 of the field, have already taken their fast pairs. Ricky Rosner involved in that recent crash, one of them. Of course, Jacob Denson, he's burned his, so that's why you see a clean number 45 machine. I believe Joey Ray not necessarily taking one. Actually, he did. So he did take a fast pair on that endeavor. Same deal with Pete Bruni in his 08 machine. He also took repairs down pit road. So a good amount of field has already burned up that faster pair, and you can imagine that for these guys, they don't necessarily want to burn it so early just because they want to keep it all the way to the end of the race. And let's say if there's another crash that they got caught up in that maybe isn't their fault, then obviously without that fast pair, they will have no choice but to bring it down pit road and or to tow and to get the required repairs, whether it's required or whether it's optional. They will still try to take it all that they can in the damage control section to obviously get themselves back on track and maybe give them a competitive race car. Pace car lights are off, meaning we will go green next time by lap 59 at 134. Already closing in on what will be the halfway mark of tonight's race. We should at least look at lap 72 for our official cross section here from tonight's 134 lapper from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, we can still extend this race if we get a yellow flag with about 3 laps to go. However, we are still way far away from that situation here at the end of this race, and of course not even at the halfway mark. We're still going to see a lot of racing here from Charlotte left to go. What we haven't seen yet has been a official long green flag run followed by green flag pit stops. We've seen many of these more than 10 lap stints get interrupted by a yellow flag and a pile up in any corner on the track. So we'll try and see if Jake Rowe and Brian Smith can lead the field to a relatively clean run here coming up to the halfway mark. Rowe is again going to choose the outside, so maybe playing some trial and error here on these restarts. He's been on the inside doing well. He's been on the outside line doing well. And against Brian M. Smith, he's going to try and throw him off by the time we get to the restart zone and to the green flag. Pace car going to come off of turn 4 back to the safety of pit road. It'll be Jake Rell once again in control of this race, and once again another early start out of the Good Wrench car. He's going to take the green lap 59 as they come to turn 1. Believe may have heard some contact near the rear of the field. So far, though, no yellow as the field comes out to the back straightaway in turn 3. All top 4, pretty much single file. They're side by side for 5th. That's Craig Lounsberger underneath Kyle Benson for position. And back there, you see Dean Brummett and Lance Hill also in a fight and a tug for position as well, just outside of the top 5. And pretty much everybody, again, trying to put themselves in rhythm. This time, though, AJ Green, not as quick as we thought he was. He's going to go to the outside here, try and pinch Joe Sanchez in the 55, and they're going to remain door-to-door out of turn 2. And we'll see if Green can get the advantage over into the next corner. It's been rather quick for AJ Green to catch up to the front and to put a pressure on the race leader. But ever since he took the pole to start this race, Green has not seen the front of the field since he went down pit road. They're almost 3 wide behind. There's Jovi Ray, Jacob Smith in the middle behind in the backfield as well. But for now, most of them single file as they come to turn 1. Here's Brandon Gillis to the outside of Jovi Ray. This is for P15. You can see the different lines that Gillis is getting, trying to use that middle lane. Now going to use the outside wall. They did add more grip here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, so you could make, theoretically, the higher lines work. But for Gillis, it's not going to work at a turn 3 and 4. Joey Ray going to have that position. Brandon Gillis, a driver that we saw as he hits the outside wall. And to try and keep it collected, no yellow's going to come out. He's going to stay up there to avoid any oncoming traffic. Well, that's real close right in front of the 97, although he's going to pick it back up and still be on his pace. Brandon Gillis, a driver that we mentioned with a lot of bad luck in 4-wide competition, has seen some bright spots out of the super speedways, but a lot of the intermediates, on a lot of the short tracks, we have unfortunately seen Gillis either involved in crashes or just not having the paces. Again, he'll strike the wall at turn 4 and try to pick that car back up. He currently sits back there at the top 25, or at least the top 20 as of right now, or just right in front of the 69 of Michael Woolley. But nonetheless, he's going to try and keep himself collected, though. It is a battle at the moment for P2. AJ Green catching over to the 78 of Brian M. Smith. You're right on board with Green there, using the throttle, especially some of that throttle modulation in the middle of the corner. As he continues to try and catch up to Brian Smith. Going to lay off the gas here, but he is really hounding that back bumper. Going to really clear up to the middle of the corner. And for now, he may have an opportunity to make that pass. Side by side, though, behind them, it's Kyle Benson to the inside of Joe Sanchez. 2 race winners this season. Sanchez going to have the advantage in the middle, but Benson going to try and pick it back up. Thinks Sanchez may end up clearing. Indeed, he does. So, moves Sanchez still in a P4. And Benson, who tried to fight, he's still inside of the top 5 as we speak so far. And AJ Green just continues to pick up the pace. That last time by, as they crossed the line, that last time by, Jake Ruel was the fastest out of the top 3. Give it to AJ Green this time. 31.413. As the fastest out of the 2 drivers in front of him. Smith with a 31. Actually, no, he was faster. Smith was faster. 31.346. But it's a bit slower for the race leader. 31.433 out of Jake Ruel. So these guys fairly even as of lap 66. And looking forward to the halfway mark of tonight's race and maybe toward a potential run of green flag pit stops. There's Jacob Denson. He's to the inside of Tyler Murray. We saw Tyler Murray have a good run at 5 flags, but of course, that was ruined by some crashes. He ended up in some beef. But just trying to pick it up here as he works into the top 15 against Jacob Denson, and now catching up to another Jacob and Jacob Smith. And Murray in that 8. Johns Mansville machine for DEI back in the NASCAR Busch Series days. Going to try and pick things back up, and maybe we could see him towards the end of this race. Here's a nice battle here for P7 on back. That's Colin Forster, Craig Lounsberger, Dean Brummett in a fight with themselves as well. These guys not winners so far in the series. And Dean Brummett with the winner at Bristol in the Cup Series not too long ago. That's the only win that he's had so far in 4-wide competition. These 3 looking for their first ever ARCA win. What better way could do it here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And this race comes at a point in the season where Cup Series had sort of a, I guess, a parallel schedule along with these guys. So tomorrow night on Wednesday, you will see the Cup Series visit this very track, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where they capped off a champion last season in Scott Healy. Well, this time it's going to be a regular season event, not a championship event. But Charlotte Motor Speedway definitely going to play for a nice doubleheader for the series and for both series here as we work toward the race week. Here's a good battle from second on back as Joe Sanchez has finally caught up to the drivers in the top three. He's almost had an outside look at both AJ Green and Brian Smith. That since has simmered down. It's really hard to make an outside pass here from Charlotte. And as you ride on board with the driver of that 55, you see just how tough it is. Brian M. Smith really working that high line. You can figure that his car getting real understeery out of turn 4. That's a characteristic here with these ARCA Menard Series cars, is that when you really push it to the limit, you really push the edge of the tires, especially out of that fourth corner with the bumps in 3 and 4 as well. That car will really unsettle itself and it will slowly creep, slowly but surely, to that outside wall. And while you're trying to keep the gas in, the car just does not want to rotate any further. And it can really put you in a tough situation. Smith actually doing this by design. He wants to stay up top in 3 and 4 and try to get the run off the bottom of the banking. But he seems to lose a little bit of time out of every corner because AJ Green and Joe Sanchez seems to keep him within their crosshairs. They all continue to lose time so far to the driver, the 19, and Jake Rowe. He's already picked up the lead to 0.6 of a second, almost 0.7 as they came out of the second corner. And Jake Rowe just continuing to put on these laps in the race lead. And I believe as of the halfway mark, he is so far the driver with the most laps led at this point in this race. While we're at the halfway mark, let's take a look at our race summary, presented as always by Supermix. Jake Rowe, of course, your current race leader. He picked it up after the main leaders on the opening stint took a round of green or yellow flag pit stops under yellow. And Jake Rowe took the lead, and since he has never looked back. We've completed 72 out of the 134 scheduled here tonight from Charlotte. There are a total of 62 laps remaining. It'll be 61 when the leader crosses the start-finish line. We've had a total of 3 lead changes, Royale being one of them. We've had a total of 7 cautions already in the first 73 for a total of 27 laps. That is your current race summary at the halfway mark, presented as always by Supermix. Well, as you watch Jake Rowe continue to man the field here from Charlotte, it's been the battle pretty much from second on back that has intrigued us the most. And as Jake Rowe continues to pick things up, these guys are fighting for as much as they can, including the drivers who have gotten some damage. Here's a good amount of drivers. Kevin DeLeo leading this group from P11 back on. That's Jovi Ray, Nicholas Suzuki, who you look at right there, that black and red Havoline machine. Jacob Denson, Jacob Smith, all these guys who have been involved in some sort of incident tonight, many of which taking fast repairs already at this stage of the race. They're just trying to pick up for the rest of this race on forward. They do not want to see any contact. They do not want to see any damage on their race cars. And if they can do it here, pick up some positions and some solid points along the way, they could be on a nice route to maybe getting a survival effort here out of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're riding on board with Kevin DeLeo in that 53 machine in his Camping World car, similar to what we saw Robbie Gordon run not too long ago in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, as he continues to battle with that 75 and the 45 respectively, although he is losing positions big time to both of them. He's already lost ground on Joey Ray in the 5. You can see right there in that white, gray, and light blue Fastenal machine in that Chevrolet. And none of these guys so far in the route for point standings. These guys are pretty much just trying to either get into the point standings or maybe get a win to lock themselves in. Not many drivers here in this group really part of the championship fight. We could have expected Jacob Denson to be one of them, considering the success that he's had. Many consistent finishes on his end, but he's still not in the top 10 in the playoffs. Nonetheless, Jacob Smith's not in the playoffs. Nicholas Suzuki, although we usually see him as a part of the conversation in the playoffs, and he is one in the Cup Series. He's not one in the ARCA Series so far in this campaign. And neither is Jovi Ray. Although these guys have had their fair share of success over on the Cup side, It's just part of the ARCA side that has really killed their momentum, at least in many of these cases, as you watch the top 5 pretty much break away from the rest of the field. You can see that gap has closed in a bit, but it has stayed maintained. It's now 0.8 of a second between Jake Rowe and Brian M. Smith. And it seems to grow just a little bit every now and then, although Jake Rowe set the slowest lap out of the top 3 that last time by with a 32.5. It was a 32.358 for Brian M. Smith. And that last time by, Smith is again faster on the long run. So we could end up seeing that 78 machine cap off. Maybe a pass for the race win, a mission for the race lead on Roel. Just if we can catch him in enough time, and maybe hope that a caution could end up equaling things out over the long run. We'll talk about many challenges over the course of this 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series season. There's going to be a lot more to come up through, especially in the coming weeks as we get to the end of the regular season and the start of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series playoffs right here on the KBueno Racing Network. Next week, we saw short track racing last week. We're in a Charlotte sandwich of short track racing. USA International will be the feature event next Tuesday, not October 26th, so we will end up back at a short track at least for 2 weeks in a row, because the week after that we'll head to the Commonwealth of Virginia. We'll go to the Richmond Raceway, the newly renovated Richmond Raceway, and we'll be there November 2nd for round 15. We'll have a red, white, and blue 4-wide salutes event with a lot of patriotic cars on November 9th at the famous Rockingham Oval, a track that we have never seen in 4-wide competition at all. We're going to have a doubleheader there with the ARCA Series and the Cup Series respectively. And of course, we'll go back to the Daytona Oval. Not sure if that's going to be the old Daytona Oval or the brand new Daytona Oval for this series. But nonetheless, we are ending at Daytona before we officially cap off the regular season on November 16th. And then the playoffs will have a 5-race journey all the way to the championship. We'll have Bristol, Texas, Nashville. I believe that will be Nashville Fairgrounds as the Cup Series visits the Nashville Super Speedway over in Lebanon. And then, of course, we'll have Talladega in race number 21 before race 22 caps off the season. The Cup Series and the ARCA Series will end their series over at the infamous Atlanta Motor Speedway. Still not word whether that'll be the current Atlanta Motor Speedway or the brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway based on what iRacing releases at the time. Nonetheless, it'll be a hot championship battle over at Hot Atlanta. That's going to be a lot of fun. Still more than 2 months away from now, just right after the Christmas break and coming into the new year. Here's a nice battle, though, for P7 between 2 Stock Motorsports camp teammates. Colin Forster on the outside, Lance Hill in that 34 on the inside. It's going to be quick work here for Forster. He's going to make that middle line work, and he's going to be able to try and catch up to what is now current 6th place driver Dean Brummett in the 57. And we'll see if he can gain some ground as well. There's been a bit of a mix-up near the front of the field. Joe Sanchez has picked up a lot. AJ Green has pretty much fallen on the back foot on this long run. And despite some of the early success as the pole sitter, AJ Green definitely not the luckiest here when the tires start to wear. But the gap still remains consistent, actually growing here at this case. It was closing in for between Brian Smith and Jake Roel, but as of now, Roel is starting to pick up the pace. Smith is starting to fall off just a bit, so gap is back to an extensive lead, and even more extensive as to what it used to be. It's about a second between the two. And Jake Roel coming into what will be the final 50 laps here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Coming up on potential green flag pit stops, that of course is if we stay green. Here, lap number 85 of 134 for round 13 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from Charlotte. Jake Roel still leading this race.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams, race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to coverage of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kenneth Bueno up in the broadcast booth as we continue on our green flag run with just over 40 laps to go here in tonight's affair. The 134-lapper from the home of NASCAR. So far, your leader still sits as Jake Ruel, but the gap is closing. Just before we went to break, we mentioned it was just about 1 second between current leader Jake Ruel and second place car Brian M. Smith. Well, Brian M. Smith has picked up the pace since then, and he's cut the gap just back down to 0.6 of a second. It is 1.4 seconds, though, between race leader and third place Joe Sanchez. So top two are really starting to close, but pretty much everybody on back is starting to fall off. And speaking of fall off, AJ Green has definitely fallen off over the long run. And now here comes Dean Brummett to the inside, the Kyle Larson machine, going to try and make a pass. Dean Brummett was involved in an incident earlier tonight. Picked up the faster pair, much like a lot of other drivers did out of the 7 cautions that we've had so far. But Dean Brummett having a nice recovery here after starting near the front, putting his car back up into the front, just like where he began the night on lap number 1. Got a question by Trip for Heisman over in the broadcast chat on YouTube. Of course, Trick for Heisman, Keelan Belsha, commentator at a fellow league we used to broadcast here in the KBueno Racing Network, the Quick Time iRacing League, or what it was known as the Quick Time Sprint Car Series here on KBRN, but of course they have expanded to other dirt cars, so good to see Keelan over in the YouTube chat. I'm doing good over in the broadcast booth, of course by myself up here for this affair, but so far it has been a very entertaining race, so definitely nothing to complain about on my end as we continue to watch here the closing battle between Ruel and Smith, 2 former winners, both in the Cup Series and of course in the ARCA Series respectively. And we are closing in on potential green flag stops. These guys have reached lap 45 on their stint, so sooner than later, we should most likely see drivers head down for pit road, go for some service, and we'll see exactly which ones are the first to bite. Usually we see different scenarios, and here at Charlotte, a lot of the overcuts seem to be taken here by many drivers. You usually see ones wait all the way to the very end. They usually don't keep themselves closed on the undercut. They kind of like to keep themselves open, run it till it one's dry, and then of course try to take it as long as possible, and then make the overcut on the freshest tires in the field and not have to worry about potential calls not going their way. But as of this moment, we haven't seen anybody come down pit road, so maybe just a matter of time before we see the first one end up starting the trend of drivers getting service, getting some tires, and of course trying to make it all the way to the end of this race. With the current fuel stint that they're running, more than 45 laps, this stint here, this final stop, should get them all the way to the checkered flag. So it's not going to be a concern about whether they can make it on fuel. It's just a concern about where they end up out of the cycle. And of course, if yellow flags come in and potentially impede the run to what might be a green flag race all the way to the finish. You saw AJ Green fall back just again 2 more spots. He was back in P6 after falling to Dean Brummett. Now Joby Ray, Colin Forster picked up the pace. They've climbed in to P6 and P7 respectively. Speaking of the first driver to bite, it will be 3-time winner Joe Sanchez down the pit lane. Probably not expecting him out of the field to be a driver to end up on pit road first, but we do need somebody to start this all off, and the 55 Joe Sanchez will be the driver to do just that. We'll see exactly if the leaders take the same route of method. I believe Brian M. Smith might end up on the same page as he comes to a slow. He's going to come to pit road speed limit, reach that cone. Ricky Rosner, also a driver down pit road. There's a bunch of other lead lap cars on the way as well. That's Benson, Ray, Lautenschlager, all of them coming down pit road for the final 34 laps. And of course, just like I mentioned, this is going to be the call. This is going to be the call, inevitably, to get to the end of the race. Smith overshooting the pit stop just a little bit. He's going to lose some time out of that, but nonetheless, we'll see where Smith files in after all of this. That leaves Colin Forster as one of the next drivers to strike. Jake Rowe and Dean Brummett going to be next. As for Brummett and Rowe, they're hitting pit road. Forster going to follow suit. AJ Green is going to be the next one in. I believe Cody Kinsey. There's Lance Hill. There's Nicholas Suzuki. So all these guys going down pit road this time by. And that will leave Brandon Banks as your current race leader. Also want to give a big thanks to Keelan in chat for wishing a happy birthday. Definitely was a fun weekend nonetheless. And especially covering the MPI race on Sunday night on the birthday. That was a lot of fun to have. That was a great race on its own right. And of course, turning 20 is probably not the best sight for me. I don't think I probably wanted to be turning 20, but nonetheless, it was a lot of fun on that weekend. And of course, keeping the broadcast intact and commentating, doing what I love on my birthday was also a lot of fun as well. Brandon Banks down pit road. We saw him stay out just a couple of laps, so it hasn't been too long of a stint. There are some of the leaders coming out of pit road. Kyle Benson, one of them. He gets by current race leader Jacob Smith to unlap himself on track. And there's Brian Dixon down pit road, Brian Smith and all those other guys. Joe Sanchez, they have also gone back out onto the racing surface. And Joe Sanchez, who has already unlapped himself, he's up to P4. He may potentially have the call that could win this race if it stays green. Smith, though, behind him by just 1.3 seconds. But Smith, again, was a driver that did pit a little bit earlier than Sanchez. It was about a 1-lap difference, so shouldn't be too drastic here from Charlotte. But we've seen Sanchez make calls like this before on pit strategy. We've seen him outlast the others, but it'll all come to a close. Caution flag waves on the racing surface. So we're going to try and exactly identify who might have been involved. But after having our longest green flag stint of the night, we end up under yellow once more. We try to scour across the field. Doesn't look to be anybody really in trouble here. We saw a slow car in Brian Dixon, so not sure whether he may have had a half spin or something may have happened to him on track. But nonetheless, the yellow flag comes out for the first time in a long time. Our 8th caution of the evening. And it comes just on the edge of ending our second round of green flag pit stops. So take a moment and see exactly where we can find this incident. and exactly where it might have happened. We saw a couple cars coming out, so potentially might have been an issue on the access road coming out of turn 2. And didn't seem to be anybody in trouble when the time the yellow came out. And we looked at Brian Dixon as a potential car that could have been the reason for it. Here is him down pit road. It's him taking 4 tires and fuel. Didn't seem to be a big of an issue. Dixon was coming back on track. And it didn't look like anybody was really in trouble here. So I'm not exactly sure why the yellow did in fact come out. We'll see if Dixon was either close to the incident or whether he was the incident coming back up to speed. As it's coming back on some of the slight banking here. The 24 degrees of banking here from Charlotte. When he comes out, I believe yellow flag is going to come out sooner or later. It seems to be a very clear exit off pit road. So we're not exactly sure who is involved this time around. Definitely a weird instance to have ourselves under yellow. But meanwhile, it's been a rather interesting shakeup. Are the drivers that have stayed out, the drivers that are yet to pit. And of course, what's going to be the running order when we go back green? It is currently standing Jacob Denson. It's putting Jacob Denson in the race lead as of right now. Jake Rowell, Dean Brummett, your top 3. As Dustin Webb is, I believe, a lap car here, so he should get the wave around when we get the 1 to green signal on. I believe we do have word from the officials that the incident involved Brandon Gillis in the 9 machine. We'll see if we can try to get a replay out of him as he comes down pit road this time by. We'll see whether he had any large troubles coming out of pit road. It was apparent, or from the officials, that he spun coming out of pit road on cold tires. Although we'll just try and get a look at whether that was the case on the lap that the caution did come out. We'll try to get a look at it. As there you see the black and pink Square Enix car of Brandon Gillis. And we'll see here. This is coming out of pit road, turn 2. Not a clear look here from the 9. As you saw him here, he gets way loose, and I believe right there, just got into trouble. And then around he went. We can't necessarily see it from our cameras, but I guess it was apparent that he did get loose on the cold tires. He went around, and that's exactly why the caution comes out. It was after our longest stint all night long. Mentioned earlier in the broadcast that we had a lot of maybe short green flag stints, maybe 10 laps or so before yellow would fly, but that was indeed our longest one that lasted up until obviously more than lap 100. And then now the yellow comes out lap 103. We're going to try to get the field back together for a restart with just under 30 laps remaining here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a recovery this would be for Jacob Denson, though, if he can pick this up and stay where he's at. Unfortunately, he's got some of the oldest tires in the field by about a handful of laps. He currently sits 9 laps on his stint, and it's a 4-lap difference between himself and second and third place cars in Jake Rowe and Dean Brummett. And then, of course, it gets even worse when you go further down the order. Joey Ray's going to kind of be the outlier here. He's more even with the race leader. He's 7, coming to 8 laps on his stint. Tony Kivet, Michael Newbraw, Joe Sanchez, all those guys, though, are all pretty much on 1 lap on their stint. I think many of them just pitted the last time by as well. So it does make things a little harder for Jacob Denson on this end to potentially keep himself in the race lead and give himself, after what's been a wild night for him tumultuously, a potential shot at the checkered flag. So we'll double them up. Lights are out on the iRacing official pace car. I also want to give a shout out to Nicholas Monticelli over in the YouTube chat, watching from work right now. We definitely appreciate it. And we hope that this series and this race could give a solid end to the race to make it all worth it. And with this restart right here, this may be the most crucial one out of the night if we do not see any more cautions come out. And if we end up on a long run, we know who's been strong here tonight. Jake Raw has been one of them. Brian Smith has been one of them. But with new contenders up in the front of the field, we have ourselves a completely different complexion to what this race might end up when we could have a first-time winner. Jacob Denson looking for his first. Jake Raw looking for his second in his second attempt this campaign. Dean Brummett, Dean Brummett, Joey Ray rather, they're looking for their first. As the pace car comes out of pit road, it'll be the 45 and the 19. So the green flag with less than 30 laps to go from Charlotte. And already you can tell top three have walked away, but the caution immediately flies. It's a big stack up at the entrance of one. Bishop slams into the 34 of Lance Hill. That's Charlie Harcum involved. I believe that's Jesse Priest that got a piece of it as well. And as the field got bunched up once more, the chaos ensues. And after the almost less than half a lap, really, caution comes out again. And we'll see how this all stacked from. We've seen incidents where the field has stacked together, but it's an interesting case here with Lance Hill. I think he got into the rear end of Brandon Banks as they were coming to the restart. Remember, these guys were single file behind everybody, doubled up. These guys pitted just before the green came out. It's going to be right here. They check up big time. 34 tries to check up. He gets into the 75, gets loose, and 88 goes for a wild ride up near the outside wall. 34, though, does not escape whatsoever. And you'll see him here. He's going to check up out of turn 4. I think everybody going single file, they all just kind of misjudged when these guys are going back green. 88 checks up, 34 checks up. He gets into the 75, loses his car, and then tags the 88 directly into the 75 and the 8, which then comes into Jesse Priest. That also catches another car off guard. That's the 69 of Michael Woolley that also gets collected. You see him there. The hard hit to the left side of the 34. Brian Dixon doing a nice job to get away, although he gets some damage. And then the 42 just slams right here. Not sure why. And in the aftermath of the incident. And then, of course, pace car comes out. It's a pretty big stack up here into turn 1. And Lance Hill, the stock motorsports driver, he was doing so well tonight. And now he's going to be in this group of cars going down pit road for damage repair. As we'll see if we can get another attempt at a restart here. And we'll probably get it at around lap 112 to 113. And out of that group going down pit road, many of them have taken their fast repairs. So, of course, they're just going for extra damage repair. They will spend some time down there, but at least the field isn't under green flag circumstances, so they won't go a lap down or more. And they'll just have to really worry about them being so far down in the running order that they may have to really need something drastic near the end of this race. Maybe another crash near the front to catch back up, or maybe some fresh tires as well. I talked about just how much of a switcheroo this was up at the front of this field because we have new players here. Of course, Jacob Denton. We saw him involved in multiple incidents tonight. He's got a chance of the race win. Jovi Ray, same deal for him. Had a nice car over the long run just when we hit pit road sequences. So he's back in the fight. Michael Newbraw, we haven't talked about him all night long. Started all the way back in P29 out of the 32 car field. He's up to P6, so he's got a shot at winning this thing as well. Tony Kivitt, who started right there in front of the 56 of Michael Newbraw from 28th. He's moved up to 5th. So he's also in the fight for this one as well. And then you finally get to the drivers who have been some of the strongest all night long. Joe Sanchez looking for race win number 4. Kyle Benson looking for race win number 2 in a row. Brian M. Smith behind them. AJ Green. Colin Forster. Kevin D'Elia's kind of in the mix as well. He's had a rough night looking for a better one within the top 10. So it is a complete and utter switch up between the drivers that currently have been strong and continue to be strong versus the drivers that have had rough nights and are looking for much better. Not sure what Jake Royal is doing here. He's waiting for everybody here, the pace car and everybody else. So not sure what this might have been for. I guess just to mess around just a little bit and wait for these guys. No penalties issued so far for Jake Royal, but he's going to wait for everybody, including the pace car, to catch back up. And this most likely is 2 to green. So we should at some point see 1 to green come out within the next lap or so. We'll see everybody double up and we'll inevitably find out what will happen to Roel. And actually for Roel, he's going to let everybody by. Not sure if this is an end of line penalty out of Roel in this case. But he is way back to the field. Car still on, engine still running. And now is when he's going to come back up to speed. So not sure whether Jake Royal is letting the field by design or what might have you, or whether he was just taking a moment to catch his breath and maybe do something right quick before he can catch up to the field. But This is going to put that number 19 in a very tough spot. And there he is trying to pick up the spot. So no penalties issued here for Royal, I guess. So he is going to catch back up to the field, thankfully. And we won't have Jake Royal out of this race, although he will line up on the outside lane, not in control of the restart. Jacob Denson will be the one that mans the field back to green flag action. And he'll, of course, have the discretion of when he'll step on the loud pedal when everybody would go on their way. So with this restart, numerous drivers in contention now. Numerous drivers with a chance at a race win. And Jacob Denson, we mentioned him just briefly as a consistent driver. We talked about his third place, his podium finish over at Darlington a couple of weeks back. He's put up some solid runs. He's given himself shots at race wins. He just hasn't been able to finally edge out in the last lap and take a win away. The rookie in this series, out of many that have taken their chance in four-wide competition, both across the ARCA series and the Cup series, respectively. And if Denson can pull this off, it will be a big one for his camp, and especially him individually as a driver, to put himself on the map in the four-wide scene and be able to put himself in the column of race winners. Roel trying to put a second one on the list in this campaign. He's had a strong car all night long, and we'll see whether he can outlast the Miller High Life machine when we go back racing. Pace car comes back down. It's Denson in control of the restart. He'll take an early approach. Roel still to his outside as we're back green at lap 113. And you can tell fresh tires already working for the sake of that 19 car. Already working up to the outside at the exit of 1 and 2. He's got the position up there. Gonna make himself door to door with the race leader. They're about 3 wide behind them as Benson and others try to carve their way through the field. But it's the battle for the race lead. Roel Denson, and the caution comes out just before they can finalize the battle. And it's a large pileup again. Tyler Murray, the 08 of Pete Bruni. Curtis Kelly, Brian Dixon seem to be involved as well. And a flip over by the 22. That's Eric Schaefer upside down on the racetrack. Gonna have to take a tow for that, but nonetheless, it's another large crash here on the back straightaway. We saw it coming to turn 1. It's this time coming out of turn 2. We've got cars all over the place. The 22, of course, we saw him upside down. Take a look at this as they're coming out of the second corner, and I believe it started up ahead the road. 08 of Pete Bruni gets caught up in this, but I believe it started with Tyler Murray, and it did. It got caught up into the outside wall just behind the 93 and the 97, and really just loses it. Car understeers straight into the outside safer barrier. And it's actually him coming back down the track in a car avoiding 22. Big hit. 71 of Curtis Kelly. 00 of Jesse Prees. It's an ugly sight on the back straightaway. Bam, right there. 00. 43 hard into the inside wall. Vizzuti nowhere to go either. Right on board here with Curtis Kelly. Just behind the Madness. Everybody comes up to the gears. The 8 goes into the outside wall. And there's an incident trying to get away from this crash. You see the 8 right into the outside wall there. Here's the contact between the 43 and the 22. But 8 comes back down the track directly into the 71. And a large hit there. 22, though, goes upside down. And it was after a secondary hit. It was the 42 of Christopher Bishop that got into the 22, which ended up with that driver upside down. We'll see if we can get another look at it. 42 slides directly into that mellow yellow machine, and bam, up into the, on the roof he goes, on the apron. And I believe this may signal the end of the race for Eric Schaefer, who disconnected earlier in tonight's race. As you see the damage there accrued by that RC Cola machine, we most likely will have more drivers out of this race after having some disconnect and having some with issues here and without fast repairs either, trying to repair here. Jake Roel does take the race lead, though, so out of that side-by-side battle, worked all in favor for that good wrench machine because he nosed out Jacob Denson just as the yellow flew. So Jake Roel will again be in manner of this race with about coming to 15 laps to go here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We do have word by officials that the reason for the incident was a mechanical failure from the driver, the 8 and Tyler Murray, said his screen went black. It was a Windows update for him. So unfortunate there, a hardware issue for the 8 of Tyler Murray that put him into the outside wall. And obviously by that point, there is no controlling of the race car. No matter what input you put on the wheel, the computer would just not allow you to turn the car left or right. And by that time, Murray pretty much just had that car at that point, just had no other option but to just careen across the track and just end up where it ended up. And unfortunately, it caught up a bunch of other drivers in that as well. Hopefully, we could see Murray in the end of this race. Hopefully, he can get that solved by the time we finish here tonight from Charlotte. And he can at least try to salvage a finish out of tonight's race after what was so far going to look for a top 15, top 10 run for him. And unfortunately, just the mechanical hardware gremlins that get the iRacers here. That's something unique of iRacing in its way. We usually see mechanical failures in real life with drivers that have engine issues, drivers that have suspension issues, drivers that have battery issues, radio issues, whatever you may have it. There are issues in that case, and it sort of translates over into sim racing just in a different manner. We see drivers have internet issues. Sometimes there's a storm in the area, and things get very laggy. The cars will start to blink on screen for many, and then of course that makes things unsafe in the driving surface because you can't really tell what the driver is when their internet's starting to bug out, and they end up blinking all over the track. And then of course you have hardware issues, you have Windows updates to happen randomly. I know that Windows definitely does not do the greatest to systems when it updates randomly, and of course when you're in the middle of a race, it pretty much takes you out of the session, closes the computer, and you can't really do anything but just wait until the update finishes. And it's an unfortunate technical gremlin that we suffer as sim racers, but we just have to deal with it just like the real life drivers deal with mechanical issues over at race weekend. And hopefully we can see the technical issues solved on Tyler Murray's case by the time we finish, and maybe he can try to end this race at least with his car intact, and hopefully we can see him cross the start finish line to the checkered flag in an amount of moments. We'll cross the line at lap 118 though. That will be our restart lap with the number 19 of Jake Rowe, who took the lead just before the caution came out. He will lead this back on the inside lane of row 1. Jacob Denson will have to follow the leader on the outside. It'll be Dean Brummett. Jovi Ray is still doubled up in row number 2. Tony Kibbett to the inside of row 3. No surprise, but it's a different player on the outside of the third row. It's Kyle Benson, who so far out of the fresh tire brigade has made the most moves up near that part of the field, and he's going to try and gain some more by the time we get back to the green flag. Pace car will come back to the safety of pit road at lap 118. We are about 10 minutes away, if we stay green, from the ending of tonight's race here from the home of NASCAR. Jake Rowe, Jacob Denson, back to green. Good start of the 19 of Jake Rowe. It is an absolute melee, though, behind him. Mentioned Kyle Benson carving through the field. He again slices through Denson, and now going to try and slice his way through the 57 of Dean Brummett. He's going to slide in front of the 45. Denson going to try and make a retaliation effort. But for now, no moves as they're side-by-side for third. Roel is a 3 wide behind. That's the 78 of Brian M. Smith, who took a 3 in the grass on the quad oval. He puts one driver, I think, almost on the outside wall, but they stay clean. And Smith trying to do all he can to catch back up to the front. Right on board here with the Bass Pro Shops machine. He can see the absolute fight up there for position. Could help him in this case. Could slow them down. But for now, they continue to be persistent with each other. Denson back on the bottom. Jovi Ray trying to assist Kyle Benson up on the high line. And Benson has yet to move. He's now finding his way to third. Going to try to carve through second. That only continues to halt their progress towards the driver in the race lead. Jovi Ray now to the outside of Denson for P4. It can get awfully tough to even hold the outside line when the car understeers here from Charlotte, and especially to keep it off of that banking without touching the outside of that safer barrier. And Joey Ray does a good job of keeping it out. Now going to try to again attack on Denson out of 2, but not having the run this time, as Smith going to carve to the inside. That's Tony Kibbett. AJ Green soon to follow. Everybody scrambling for position behind them. And they're just trying to, again, they've got fresh tires, so they're trying to catch up to the field, but they just cannot do so. And it gets real tough to even make a move here from Charlotte on fresh tires. Like we've seen, contact between the two, give it around. 78 also sideways, hard into the inside wall. Will we have more? We do. Wooly involved in it as well. And it's a large caution here out of turn 4. Coming to turn 1, it's Kvyat and Smith that make contact. And after Smith had been trying to get through the field on that last restart, he ends up with the worst damage out of them all. Kvyat goes by, pace car is out, caution is displayed once more. And Smith, after being a race high second at one point earlier tonight, he may have to burn off the fast repair for the first time in this race on pit road with an absolutely torn up Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats Chevrolet Impala. We'll take one more look at it and see exactly how this happened, but you can already tell just how quickly it unraveled between the 78 and the 7. Watch this move into 3 and 4. Smith makes the charge. Kvyat gives him the space. Doesn't seem to be any apparent contact right here, though. As soon as they're coming to the quad oval, 78 and the 7 merge together. They get sort of spun, and then the outside wall, or the inside wall rather, comes up so quick, and then bam, right into the left side goes Michael Woolley without any sort of time to react at all. And you'll see it one more time. Smith makes the advantage, move down low. They try to keep themselves space. Right there is the contact just before they cross the start-finish line, and then Smith gets the worst of it. Kvyat also, I believe, hits the inside wall, but it's a 78 that comes back up the track, and the 69 just goes barreling to the left side of that car. Well, right on board here with Michael Woolley. We saw Woolley involved in incidents tonight as well. It's been a rough night for him. He burned off the fast repair earlier on in tonight's race. He has no other option but to brace for impact. It's just a hard hit for that black and yellow 69. He is out of this race for good. He has parked it behind the garage. And as for Smith, we should see him down pit road getting his damage fixed. You see him right there, just stopped on pit road. Not sure whether he's waiting to burn off the fast repair or whether he's just going to stay there from here on to the checkered flag, coming to 10 laps to go. But Smith doing so well here in this race, maybe out of contention for the win for good. Here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway is Jake Roel still in the lead. It was a shuffle from about third on back. Benson's able to move up to third. Jovi Ray, Jacob Denson, we saw them battling for fourth. Denson was able to get the betterment of both of them. And coming to 10 laps to go, we will see Denson up top and Jovi Ray back down to the inside. Well, a big crash coming to turn 1 brings us under yellow. Coming to 10 laps to go. It's Jake Roel, though, still in the lead, trying to look for a second race win in this campaign. You're watching round 13 of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA series from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway right here on the KBueno Racing Network. 10 laps to go once we cross the start-finish line here for the 13th round of the 4-Wide Racing ARCA series from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. As we take a look overhead, a beautiful track under the lights with Jake Roel in the race lead. Dean Brummett will be to his inside. We will get a restart with under 10 to go. And after having some long runs here tonight, we've had a flurry of yellows ever since. And with a big crash coming to turn 1, it is sure that Brian M. Smith's night may be completely over. He will most likely burn the fast pair, but his track position will need some work near the end of this race, and there may not be enough time to catch back up to the front of the field. It's Jake Roel, though, that's had a nice set up front, and coming to green in lap number 127, he's got the race lead by a handful of car lengths. A good restart to turn 1. Dean Brummett, Kyle Benson, everybody else try to fight for position. And we've seen Roel so far be so efficient on these restarts as the battle for second heats up, because here comes Kyle Benson. He's going to try to work the middle lane on Brummett here. He's got to nose in for just a smidge. Brummett going to check up way out of turn 3 and 4. They're 3 wide behind them, but it's Benson up to P2 now. Jovi Ray will try to attack. Remember, this is on an attempt to catch Jake Roel. We've seen Roel better on the short runs, not necessarily as quick over the long stretches. So if you can try to get around these guys early, it could mean better for you. You saw Colin Forster hit the outside wall for just a moment. He's okay. He's going to stay with minimal damage on his car. And a caution comes out once again in the final 6 laps. And I believe it may have been Brandon Gillis, as his car is absolutely limping down here. There's another car just further behind here as well. Not entirely sure who that is. We could try to identify who that might be, but Brandon Gillis is definitely involved in this one to bring us under caution. Coming to the final 5 laps of this race, we'll see exactly what happened to the driver of the 9. See if we can get a good look at all as to what happened here and what brought that 9 car in trouble. It actually started right there. Apron in 1 and 2. Schaefer gets directly into him, and Schaefer goes hard into the wall. They both go spinning, and Schaefer, we saw him with some struggles earlier on tonight. He also ends up in this mix, as well as the 9 goes right there. Hard into the wall he goes, and then careening back across the track. Not sure if anybody else was directly involved as well, but we can obviously tell that these two were collected in it. And you see the damage, of course, to that Melly Yellow number 22. Obviously, got to give props for him for sticking in this, and of course, not giving up just yet. After disconnecting earlier tonight, he brought himself back into the action and has since tried to put in these laps in the final. Well, it's now going to be final 3 laps here from Charlotte. And we're going to try to end this race under an organic sequence. So this what this will do in this case, it is going to stack the field up. We most likely will have a restart with about 3 or 2 laps to go. So at this stage, we could be finding ourselves in a green-white checkered scenario organically. So we won't necessarily burn an attempt. This will just kind of be an organic green-white checker. We're just going to end at that part of the race like if it was a green-white checkered, but we're not going to burn up any attempts. However, if we do get a caution with about 4 laps to go, coming to 3 laps to go, maybe 2, or coming to the white flag, then we will rack them up and we will officially be in green-white checkered territory, and we will indeed extend this race. We have 3 attempts to get it done, so these drivers will have the opportunities to try and get a clean restart, try and get a clean run through the first couple laps, and then end up on the white flag and try to finish this race. Of course, when we have those attempts, we'll double them up, go green with about 2 laps to go. We'll try to see whether the leaders can get to the white flag. If a caution comes out before the leader crosses the line to get the white, then we'll rack them up and do it again. We have the 3 opportunities, of course, like I mentioned, to do so. If the white flag does get displayed before a crash can happen, then whatever happens after will happen, and the leader will cross the line as the race winner. Doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter if the leaders wreck. Whoever crosses the line first, by timing and scoring, will be officially considered the winner. And we may have also an opportunity to burn all 3 attempts. And then, of course, whoever's in the race lead by the time the final caution comes out before the white flag on the 3rd attempt, that means the field will be frozen. Whoever was timed as the leader will be the leader, and the race will end under yellow with the pace car out in front. And the driver frozen in timing and scoring in P1 will take the checkered flag here tonight from Charlotte. Last time we saw Jake Royale in an ARCA Series race, that's exactly how it happened. It was at Homestead Miami Speedway, and he was in this exact spot in the race lead. Using all 3 green, white, checkered attempts, he was able to finish this race under yellow, and he was able to walk away with his first ever 4-wide racing ARCA Series victory after not showing up in the season for a while, and he has yet to show up in the Cup Series. It definitely stated that he's busy. He's got things in life going on, so unfortunately we haven't seen as much of Jake Royale as we'd like to see, but definitely always appreciative to see guys show up even when they can here in this 4-wide series. And we should get a restart here coming to 2 laps to go, so we should get the lights out on the iRacing official pace car. It'll be Jake Royale at the front of the field, Kyle Benson on his outside. Benson has been rather aggressive, looking for 2 in a row. Dean Brummett in 3rd, Jovi Ray in P4 to row 2. It is Joe Sanchez, AJ Green to your top 6. And then behind them, it is Jacob Denson and Jacob Smith, a pair of Jacobs in row number 4. And then Lance Hill behind them with the driver of the 99, Colin Forster, to round out your current top 10. And what will be the top 10 coming to this organic green, white, checkered attempt. We will not extend this race unless a caution comes out after this restart. So if we end up with this race finished without any cautions after this, we will finish this race as scheduled, the exact length of 134 laps here from Charlotte. And we'll see exactly who comes across a race winner. Royale, again, as I mentioned, race winner this season. Same deal for the driver of the 10 with that win at 5 Flags last week. He's victorious. Dean Brummett, victorious in the Cup Series, but not in the ARCA Series yet. Jovi Ray, also same deal for him. He has yet to find a win in the ARCA Series, but has found his way in victory lane in the Cup campaign. AJ Green has yet to find a win in both. Sanchez looking for his 4th. Smith and Denson looking for their 1st. And then behind them, Lance Hill looking for his 2nd. And Colin Forster also looking for his 1st in this campaign. A wide open possibility for a first-time winner, but there could be the equal chance of a second-time winner as Jake Royale goes early 2 laps ago here from Charlotte. Pace cars off, and Royale is in control to turn 1. Another solid jump out of Royale. We've seen that all night long out of the driver of that 19 machine. It is a battle, though. Heat for 2nd. Brummett on the inside of Benson. Field scrambles out of turn 2. Doesn't seem to be any issues near the rear of the field, so we could get to the white flag. Still side by side between the 10 and the 5, but they are all in an attempt to catch your race leader out of turn 4. White flag displayed. Jake Royale takes 1 more lap to go from Charlotte. And Royale came into this series, his first attempt was at Homestead Miami Speedway. It was a win after all green, white, checkered attempts were exhausted, were blown through. This time, a chance to finish this race under green. Benson and Brummett continue to battle. Benson gonna get the betterment, but it will not matter. Gap is too strong, and with a 0.6 of a second lead, Jake Royale stays undefeated in his attempts. Royale wins from Charlotte. They're crashing, coming to the line, but of course that will not affect the outcome. We're going to try to identify which cars those were that were spinning down there on the racetrack. That's Curtis Kelly with a damaged car in the Tums Heartburn turn entrance, or what's supposed to be in the Roval configuration, although he does finish this race. But it is Jake Royale in victory lane for the 2nd time this campaign. Here again at another intermediate venue in the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And you could tell he definitely had pace from the drop of the green flags. They're pretty much piling an incidents behind them. They know that it's the end, but for the race winner, it's a celebration. And we talked with Jake Royale after Homestead. He said, I'm going to try to attend as much of these races as I can with the schedule that I have. He was able to run tonight, and it was definitely all worth it. As the Good Wrench car goes back to victory lane. It's his 2nd try in this series. It's his 2nd win. He is still 100% on attempts versus wins. And it's a great finish for the guys behind. Kyle Benson in P2. Dean Brummett to finish third after what has been a tumultuous race for that 57 car. Jovi Ray, same deal for him. Joe Sanchez, your top 5. But Jake Royale burning it down once again for the second time in this campaign here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll take a look at your full field results, see exactly where everybody finished out of the full 32 car field. Of course, Royale, your winner for the second time this season. Kyle Benson, oh so close to a second straight victory, but he will walk away out of Charlotte in the ARCA series with the second place finish. Dean Brummett going to finish in P3. It'll be Jovi Ray. Him and Brummett both have had terrible nights to start. They had some crashes to deal with, a lot of damage near the end, but they were able to pick it back up with some fast repairs in tow, and they were able to walk away with race victories. Or not with race victories, with race finishes within the top 5. Joe Sanchez ends up in P5 with AJ Green behind him. Jacob Denson will finish this race in P7. It'll be Colin Forster, Lance Hill, the 2 stock motorsports drivers, in 8th and 9th. Jacob Smith returns after a lot of damage suffered earlier on in that Dodge Viper. He ends up coming home in P10. Kevin D'Elia, also same deal for him. Lots of issues early on, but he rebounds for P11. Tony Kibbett to 12th. Michael Newbraw comes home in P13 with Daytona winner Ken MacArthur in the 97 back to P14. It'll be a top 15 finish for Charlie Harcum in the 46. It'll be Curtis Kelly who comes home across the line crashing back in P16. Dustin Webb across the line P17 with Lautenschlager, Brian Dixon, Christopher Bishop, the end of your current top 20. Cody Kinsey crosses the line 21st. Tyler Murray with a hardware issue finishes P22. Unfortunately, he's the first car to finish this race on the lead lap. It'll be Brandon Gillis behind him in 23rd, 1 lap down. Same deal for Vizzuti in P24. Ricky Rosner will be 2 laps down at the start-finish line in P25. Brandon Banks comes home 7 laps down in 26. 27th will belong to the 22 of Eric Schaefer, who went up over on his roof in one of the last cautions. Brian M. Smith, a heartbreaking end to the race for him after what was such a good run up until that point. Got into the inside wall after crashing with Tony Kibbett, and he ends up P28. It's P29 for the 69 of Michael Woolley. Jesse Prees wraps up your current top 30. Pete Bruni and Tristan Bailey, final 2 drivers. Tristan Bailey did not start this race. Well, now it'll be our time to take a moment to talk with your race winner for the second time in this campaign. And for the second try, Jake Roel ends up victorious here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Jake, last time we talked to you, it was your first attempt here in this series season. You win after all green-white checkered attempts were exhausted at Homestead. You come here at Charlotte, you had pace all night long, and you take another win, undefeated on the attempts here in the ARCA series after an organic green-white checkered restart. Walk us through that finish.
Yeah, I mean, the whole night was just flawless. Didn't qualify. Wanted to see what it was like to drive through the field. So just kind of had to avoid some of the early carnage. But once we just got up front, it was just smooth sailing. But yeah, I mean, just nailing those restarts. I had, Dean Brummett, Jovi Ray, and then Brian Smith for a while up there before he got involved into an accident, which ended his night. But just having teammates like that around you on those restarts just makes it a little bit easier. You can time them out, get good jumps on the rest of the guys. So just kind of how it worked out tonight.
Well, of course, it worked out in your favor, and I want to talk about a key point in the strategy because, of course, green flag pit stops did happen near the halfway mark of this race. Of course, obviously, that didn't really matter, but tires were a big topic of conversation, at least from us in the booth, that we were thinking that tire conservation was going to be big, that fresh tires are going to mean so much. Did it mean that much for you guys up at the front of the field? I know it probably wasn't a problem in the last laps, but from one of those last restarts, was it significant factor in how positions were made, or was it really not as big as you guys maybe expected it to be?
Yeah, I feel like if you only had like 1 or 2 laps, older or newer tires, it was not that big of a deal. But that one restart, when I believe it was the 45 of Jacob Denson, after that long green flag run, the yellow came out. I think he had pit on like lap 97, 96. Yellow came out like 101, somewhere around there. So, and the yellow had come out like the lap as I was coming out of pit lane for my green flag pit stop. So I was like, there's no point of pitting here, gain track position back. And then just, there was 2 restarts where he was still in the lead. But once it went green enough, I knew I was going to get the run out of 2. to get by him, just because he had older tires, and I knew the top would work to get a run around him starting in second. So, yeah, tires were definitely big, and then obviously just once he got into the lead, the tires didn't really matter because it was just yellow after yellow, and then at that point, there was only so few laps, so it was really just kind of, hauling the mail up front.
Well, you end up taking your second race victory here tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I think now begs the question, you went to an intermediate, Homestead, you won in your first attempt, you come back at Charlotte, another intermediate, you take a win. Can we expect a 3P here out of the Royal Train in the ARCA Series this season?
Yeah, I mean, if the next one's an intermediate, might as well go for it. I just feel like the last couple weeks I've really put a lot of work on the 1.5 miles, so I feel like that's kind of where I've struggled in in the B car, the trucks, and ARCA car, and it's paying off in officials, and obviously it kind of started when I was talking to you last at Homestead for the ARCA Series here in 4 wide. So yeah, it's paying off. Hopefully the next week's race on next Tuesday is a 1.5 miles. Maybe we'll go 3 for 3, but also got to point out the fact that the last 2 races I've won have both been my home tracks. I grew up in South Florida, and now I live in the Charlotte area. So I guess it's just that hometown advantage, if you want to call it that.
I think maybe the hometown virtual fans cheering you on as well, both from Homestead and from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But Jake, before we let you go on the second race victory of the season, is there anybody you just want to thank? Any teams, any sponsors, or just anybody that makes it happen for you?
Yeah, I got to thank all my teammates that were in here tonight. Dean Brummett coming home 3rd, Joey Ray in 4th, Jacob Smith came in 10th. Brian Smith was up there all night. I mean, him and I checked out on that long green flag run. He got involved in a wreck late, so kind of ruined his night. Then I had my spotter Nick going in there tonight helping me out with stuff and strategy, so always got to thank him. And then at Royal Motorsports, got to thank Off Apex Designs. He always does my paint schemes and things like that, so always got to shout him out when I get the chance. And also you guys do a really good job on your broadcast. Always love going back and watching them the next day while I'm working, trying to make the day go by a little quicker.
Well, we certainly appreciate it, Jake. I want to give you a big congratulations on this race win from the home of NASCAR, the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And, of course, next intermediate track is kind of far from now. We've got Texas on December 7th, and then we have Atlanta on December 28th. Hopefully we'll see you there, but maybe you can make some appearances in between those races. But, again, congratulations from Charlotte, and we look forward to seeing you in the next event in 4x competition that you race in.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
It's Jake Rowell, race winner here tonight from Charlotte. This time didn't have to exhaust all 3 green, white, checkered attempts. Just had to keep it under green. Everybody stayed clean, and he ends up the victor after 134 laps. So talk to the driver who ends up in second, and arguably one of the most aggressive drivers since the drop of the green flag tonight. It is Kyle Benson, and the driver, the number 10, McAfee Toyota Camry, will bring Kyle Benson into the broadcast booth. And Kyle, I think out of this race tonight, out of many of the drivers it seemed as though you were the most aggressive. You were not afraid to take it middle 3 wide, not afraid to dive your nose in, not afraid to put some pressure on the guys in this race. What made this race successful for you on this, not with the track combo and, of course, the way this race went overall for you?
You said just being aggressive. I had to be aggressive from the drop of the green flag, just because of these cars. These cars get really tight over time, so you really have to put time on the guys behind you and just try to be getting that clean air as quick as you can. And, like you said, I had to be aggressive. I mean, it's the first time I've been aggressive for a long time, and it's actually been a lot of fun. So, I don't know, I might be more aggressive, hopefully, to bring it towards the Cup side tomorrow. And yeah, that was just pretty much about it. I mean, I had a great time. Jake Rowell, fantastic guy to race with. He deserved that win. He led from 100 some odd laps, so I mean, the win's all to him. But I think second place sucks. Been there before a lot, but I think I may have had a chance before that caution came out, that last caution. But I don't know. Beggars can't be choosers, and he's gonna go on to the next one.
Certainly still a good finish, and after what was a victory, the last time we talked to you, it was the 5 Flag Speedway where you picked up your first win in this 4 Wide Racing ARCA campaign. Give us a perspective of the approach coming out of 5 Flags, coming out of what was an endurance short track race, to tonight here at Charlotte versus what the expectation is for next week coming out of Charlotte over into USA.
To win. Just win every time I can get on the track, because I have to pretty much race the rest of the race to even have a shot. So if I can win every time I get on the track, that'd be really nice. But just really much just getting good finishes and staying in the top 20.
Well, P2, I think is going to be a nice step in the right direction for you and your 10 team. Before we let you go, Kyle, here from Charlotte Motor Speedway, is there anybody you just want to give a shout out to? Any teams, sponsors, or pretty much anybody that makes it happen for you here on track?
I'd like to give a shout out to Murray Reedy Motorsports and Big Fast Racing. Two great groups of people to be around. Team Mur Designs, great guy to work with, makes most of my paint schemes. So just giving a shout out to him. But with the broadcast is always awesome to look back on, so I have to give it to you guys. But other than that, that's about it.
Well, we certainly appreciate it, Kyle. We certainly appreciate the time to talk with us up in the broadcast booth. And, of course, congratulations on the P2 finish here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We wish you the best luck. No USA is next. That probably will be another short track endurance race. But you've got the last win of the short track, so we'll see if you can go 2 in a row. Wishing you the best of luck.
Thanks, buddy.
That's Kyle Benson, P2 finisher here tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He said it, aggressivity was the key, and it brings him to a solid run in the podium here tonight. We'll kick back to the driver who will end off our driver segment of interviews. The driver, the number 57 in that Nation's Guard colors, the driver of that car, Dean Brummett, and the winner over at Bristol in the Cup Series earlier in this campaign. So close to an ARCA win, but still a fantastic third place finish after what he endured in this race. We'll talk to the driver, the 57, Dean Brummett, and Dean, I think out of anybody in this top 3, I think you had the most roller coaster night of them all. You had a run up through 5th, you started up at the front, you ran some good laps, then some cautions came out, you were involved in one of the incidents. I believe you ended up burning off your fast spare, indeed you did, because of the damage, and you end up working all the way back with guys like Joby Ray, that also accrued damage to finish in P3. How were you able to do that, and what was that like?
Man, it was just a whole lot of patience, dude. You know, we've been working quite a bit in terms of tire management and just trying to learn some of these 1.5-mile tracks. I'll tell just about anybody, I am not a big fan of 1.5 miles, whether it be Charlotte, Atlanta, Kansas, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not a huge fan of them, and honestly just haven't really been able to do much with tire management and ARCA cars, period. But just kind of went out there tonight, got a good feel for the car in the first half, and then got that long green flag run and really got the car settled in, really got to make some moves. And, you know, everybody kind of, tires got to the point of the run where everybody kind of stabilized. And then they got to the point where they started to fall off. And when I wasn't the one getting past, I was like, okay, cool, we've got this thing set on kill. And, you know, just through the end of it, kind of survived the craziness and just managed to be there at the end.
You end up surviving all the way through 134 laps. And I want to ask you just how important the tires were and just how important the adjustments were. Because you said in the middle of the race, there was a long green flag run, tires started to fall off, and then first part of the race, cautions are coming out. Last part of the race, cautions are coming out. So how is that as a driver to adjust between working on long runs, trying to make sure you keep your car consistent over those laps while also adjusting for having to do restarts over and over and having to stack yourself amongst the field?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, they get into these races and they get in that short run mentality, and that's when you start to see a lot of these cautions come out. You get to the middle of the race after we've had all sorts of cautions, and everybody kind of says, maybe if we go through, we run a little cleaner, we'll get the rest of this race in quicker. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. You know, it was definitely a great run there. You know, when we got that long run, got to see green flag pit stops. You know, started a little bit towards the end of that big long run to run Jake Rowell down just a little bit and get right on his bumper when we entered the pits. And that in its own right is a risk, just trying to get on the pits as hard as you can without speeding. But to kind of answer the question, I mean, the tires were definitely important when you've got these underpowered ARCA cars. You know, they're weird aerodynamically. They don't want to hold wide open quite like a truck would, but at the same time, they don't want to be off throttle a lot like an Xfinity car is. They're their own different type of beast, and honestly, I think between the Xfinity cars and these ARCA cars, these are two of the most difficult oval asphalt cars to drive on iRacing, period.
Took some grit, took some persistence, but you end up in P3 at the end of it all here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Before we let you go, Dean, is there anybody you just want to give a shout out to or thank? Any teams, sponsors, or anybody else you just want to give the love to?
Yeah, man, definitely got some people we want to shout out. I feel a little bad because I'll be honest with you, I was a little ignorant to the fact that this race was going to be broadcasted, so I didn't bring out my sponsor package tonight. But definitely want to thank Scott Wallace over at Sweeper One Carpet Cleaning Services, Miss Karen Hutchinson over at Eastern Roof Technologies, and Marvin Biddix, Remax Select agent out of Cornelius area, North Carolina. Three great Lake Norman-based businesses. You know, if you ever need any type of carpet cleaning services, any commercial roofing done, anything of the sorts, these guys can always help you out. And hey, if you don't want to get that done and you're just looking to buy the house, you always have the option of hitting up Marvin and going and getting that done there. So just some great places, great, awesome businesses, and just happy to have them on board with my cup right here.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Dean, and of course we want to congratulate you on this fantastic third place finish here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, I know there's a cup race tomorrow night here from this track, so we wish you the best of luck, but it'll be a short track again next week in this series over at USA, and we wish you the best of luck as well. Congratulations again on the finish here tonight.
Hey, we thank you so much, buddy. Congratulations, Jake Rowell, Kyle Benson, and let's go, Brandon.
Dean Brummett collects third place here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a race it was from start to finish. Flurry of yellows to begin. Had a long run near the halfway mark. And then, of course, we end this race in such a poetic way with Jake Rowell after burning all three green-white checkered attempts to win Homestead. Doesn't need to burn any of them to win here tonight from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Well, with that in our capped off section of the driver interviews, we'll take a look ahead in our season schedule. We have a lot to come with here at the 4Wide Racing ARCA Series and the Cup Series, respectively. Of course, for our weekly broadcast, we'll have tomorrow's action as the Cup Series takes home to the home of NASCAR, and the Charlotte Motor Speedway will have that coverage at 9:10 p.m. Eastern over on the Max Speed TV YouTube channel. So you'll see our broadcast there on that channel as we'll try to decide a Cup winner here from the home of NASCAR. But we return for more ARCA Series action next Tuesday night, October 26th, as we again go for a short track thriller at the USA International Speedway for 167 laps. The coverage will begin, of course, on that night, October 26th, 9:10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the KBueno Racing Network YouTube channel. Be tuned, or stay tuned rather. We may have some Halloween surprises with there as well. Going to be a lot of fun heading into spooky season here on the KBueno Racing Network. But again, so much to look forward to with the playoffs arising. 3 races now are left between the top 10 and, of course, a run at a 4Wide Racing ARCA Championship. There were a lot of movements in the points after tonight, but it's Jake Rowell that takes his second race victory here in this event from Charlotte. I want to thank everybody involved at the 4Wide Racing camp, for Tyler Murray, league owner, and everybody a part of the race council to make these races happen each and every week. I want to congratulate again Jake Rowell, his second win here from this season. Homestead and Charlotte going to be right in the bank of checkered flags. And for all of us here at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Beyer and Francisco Bacquiao, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long, good night from Charlotte. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more Cup action, but we'll see you from USA next Tuesday night.